yeah, other than that, I have definitely typed up the prompt, and if you have any issues with the prompt, and that's about it. So, oh, Ken Comore just said yes, I am at work for the next hour. I'll be when I get home. I do know that Zonia might be hopping on later. Stardust might also be hopping on later, maybe. All right, so both of them are maybes. And in addition, I think that Taftaj might also be a maybe. All right, so I've reached out, no response yet. But that again, that is a last minute thing. All right, so we'll see. Yeah. So finally, I'm still questioning whether to message Brianna Wu or not. Me and her on are on good terms. Our bridge is intact. But if I message her about this, I'm not sure if it'll stay that way. So the thing is, so I'm questioning, whether I should make that decision or not. So
I am under the impression that she is in Baltimore for VidCon.
yes. So she would not have the time anyway, but I'm sure that she
Yes.
will in fact check out this VOD. I'm almost certain. All right. Or not certain rather. But the thing is yeah, that's about it. Anyway, I will begin reading out the prompt now that I have typed up. So here we go. Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
Is it starting now?
Yes. So welcome to food for thought. So here on this panel, this is hosted by yours truly, Food Shops. And yeah, I'm a content creator, commentator, debater, and other than that, I like talking about subjects that are typically too complicated or like a little bit more nuanced than Twitch poll in general. But I like dumbing things down for Twitch poll because I think that there's still important subjects to talk about. And that's about it. That's my entire gist. All right. So in terms of drama, this is for President Sunday, WhickTV, and Brianna Wu drama. So the premise is this. There has been an occurrence of late, a whisper in the ether, if you will, all right? Brianna Wu has been chatting in private and in public in both Discord and otherwise group chats about her transmedicalist-related takes, or some may call transmedicalist, some may say not transmedicalist, and some may say based, and some may say not based, okay? These chat logs have been leaked to President Sunday, who has then live streamed and made at least one video on Wu's past in a negative light, as well as posting about her negatively on Twitter, all right? So there are two main group chats at play. The first is a primarily transgender, and some may argue transmedicalist, Twitter group chat called Sissy Hippo Pub. In the chat, Brianna Wu's most contentious statement on former TYT trans employee Benny that Sunday has repeatedly posted is, quote, if you're not super hot, maybe just dress normally and don't present yourself as a transvestite. You can go a long way with just being skinny and dressing normally, end quote. The second is WhickTV's public Discord server general chat. What has been contentious especially is Sunday has took the logs from WhickTV server where both Wu and Sunday has been active in and has posted them online onto his YouTube channel, to which WhickTV has banned Sunday for a week because Sunday broke the rule of WhickTV's Discord rule of turning server logs into content or publicized material. So the first question is this. Do you think that private group chat messages where the messages don't cause direct harm, quote unquote direct harm, so you guys can argue over this, to others or public facing figures should be regarded as something serious? If a public figure gave their opinions in private only, but said other things in public, would that be a cause for concern, as long as it is not harming anybody directly, like unwanted sexual advances? Discuss.
Well, doesn't it kind of depend on the context? Like, if you're a politician and you're saying, hey, publicly I'm saying this thing, but privately I have this different view, and I'm telling my donors that thing, like, obviously that's in the public interest. But if it's just people talking and like you're shooting the shit with your friends and maybe you say something that's not fully thought out because it's a private chat, like that probably shouldn't be leaked out. No, I don't think.
Wait, hold on. In Brianna Wu's case in particular, she is a politician.
Yeah, Brianna Wu is running a PAC. She is attempting to insert herself into a conversation and saying one thing publicly and saying entirely a different one privately. I feel that is a public interest.
She runs a PAC. She ran a failed congressional campaign. And during her failed congressional campaign, by the way, she also had a bunch of insane lies. Like, she claimed to be a cybersecurity expert in campaign advertisements. She claimed that she was homeless. But, like, before that, she was claiming that, like, when she was 19, her parents gave her $200,000 to start up an animation studio. She's just, like, her entire history is just her being a chronic liar and saying one thing publicly and a different thing privately and then getting caught for it. Like, that's her entire history on loop.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe that's a bit different then.
That's fair.
Yeah, it really feels fairly cut and dry that this is a case of public interest.
Yeah.
I see. Is there no disagreement whatsoever then on this issue?
Sounds like
think that. Well, I would think that the Brianna Wu in this particular case would absolutely be putting herself at risk because yes, she's in organizations that are tied to her opinion. So obviously, contradicting one of them privately is still a big deal. But Whick has every right to ban President Sunday in this content because WhickTV is not. My understanding is he's just a moderator, but I mean he has his own public political opinions, but they're tied to a debate channel. So I think that the professional, the career of the person matters, or what their intentions are matter.
Look, is there anybody on here who actually thinks that, like, Whick doesn't have, like, a right to ban anybody he wants from his Discord? Like, I think so. I just think that it's, like, just because he has a right to do it doesn't mean that it is right to do it, right? Like, you can have a right to free speech, but that doesn't mean that, like, calling...
Well, yeah, I would argue... I would point out that Whick is perfectly at liberty to ban whoever he wants from his Discord for any reason. However, like, there's, I think, an important point in that Discord for the rules. I don't know if it's been updated as of today. It probably has. I would imagine it would have been. But originally, it said that you cannot record anything in voice chat explicitly. There was nothing about the general chat. In that, I don't necessarily think that it's reasonable to assume that you are not being monitored in a public-facing Discord. Like, anything you say is going to be said in public. So, like, he can do whatever he wants, but I don't necessarily think I would make that argument as a reasonable one.
You should act as such, absolutely. Like, especially on the internet, you should act as such that, like, the worst person in your personal life is going to see that particular thought or whatever. But, I mean, aside from that, the conversation, again, the intention of a particular conversation were not stated to be broadcasted or whatever. So I think that really is, a reasonable argument for Whick to make. And the fact that President Sunday was only banned for 7 days makes it even more formidable to me. So,
yeah, look, I don't think anybody thinks it's like. Oh yeah, I don't think anybody thinks it's like a big deal that President Sunday was banned for 7 days. I just think they think it's like dorky that Whick did it. Like, it's kind of like silly.
It's funny more than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's whatever.
I mean, President Sunday doesn't mind it, no? They talked about it.
He was very well. There was a split like conversation he had with Whick that was just nothing really. But yeah, he doesn't seem very bothered by it. So
yeah, it was like, oh yeah, sure, it's your prerogative or whatever. I don't really care. It's fine.
Regardless of how pointless and entertaining that conversation was, it was good that they were able to at least have that conversation face to face, even though it was just really mundane and kind of boring. Because yeah, like if it is one thing to like ban someone from your castle or your point of authority, but to not justify it, again, is another layer of what sometimes causes the turbulence. So
yeah, I really think that Whick is a fairly minor player in all of this. I mean, he's obviously having a temper tantrum on Twitter for the last 2 days, but that's totally his prerogative. Like he's not really. Yes, he is fighting with Zanzi and Sunday and me and Sirius about how serious he is. So like he's having a normal one today. But like I don't really think he's the principal player here. Like it's a minor show, and he's mostly upset because a source of funding for him is been accosted. He was paid by Rebellion PAC, which is the PAC that Wu runs, to host a panel show. He has
Two
a
of them, yeah.
vested financial, yes, to host a panel between Vosh and some guy on abortion. I forget the other guy.
Some Catholic dude or whatever.
What's
Yes,
about
it-
contraception?
Okay.
Yeah, there was also
contraception.
there were two. There was one about there was there was the debate between Vosh and the Catholic guy, and there was another panel or something that was sponsored as well. I think the panel was contraception. Do you have that correctly, Lucy?
The debate was contraception.
Oh, okay. And the panel was something else then, I guess.
Yeah, I
Probably
think it moved.
Catholic.
The topic moved in the middle of it. I was only half paying attention. The point is, though, like he has a vested financial interest here, so he's understandably upset, just not necessarily justifiably upset.
Do you? I have a question. So, do you think that maybe simply just dismissing it as like a vested, financial aspect might dismiss, genuine criticism that he may have?
I don't know.
Well,
what's
if
the
you go and
genuine
you look at,
criticism.
yeah, if you go and look at the criticism, he's just basically spent the entire time calling anyone who opposes him the R-slur. So I'm not entirely certain he's articulating any criticism he has in the most effective way possible.
Well, if
You're talking
I
about
don't know
Whick,
all the
right?
details.
I don't understand the
but
question.
From this, I just want to understand. It sounds like President Sunday took the screenshots from and chat logs from Wick's server, right? That's where he got these, or some of them.
No, he got these screenshots from a individual who gave them to him on the condition of anonymity, and he got the logs from Wick's server on Wick's server, of which he is a member.
But so he leaked the logs partially from Wick's server, some of them, right?
It's not really a leak if it's a public-facing log, but sure.
Would Wick, does he have any reason to be upset that someone was in his server and was taking these things? That it is a public community, but it's semi-public because you have to be invited in theory. And they were trying to cause drama.
The invite's posted
involving...
publicly. I was able to.
Okay.
It's a Discord link. You can just click right in.
Right, but
if you searched it up, would you be able to join?
Well, he's not.
Yes,
He's
I am.
not here to
Yeah.
defend
That's
himself.
why I
So I'm trying
joined.
to play devil's advocate here a little bit. He runs a server. People are taking screenshots or logs from that server and they're posting them publicly. He might be a little bit upset about that. I think that's not super unreasonable.
Okay.
So I had this happen
Sorry,
to
please
me
continue.
recently. I had this I am an admin for a server as well, and this happened to us recently where it was posted on it was posted on a live show, and I decided not to ban the person who screenshotted. Well, it was a VC conversation as well, a little bit different, but I decided not to ban them. I just stripped them of their, what is it called, their access type stuff. But that was in the case of a VC. I think that I could see it go either way, honestly. In this case, I understand though.
So let me ask a different question then in this particular case. What we're talking about is a limit. Where is the limit of what you think is acceptable to take? Because people take things from Discords as a matter of public comment and put them in other Discords all the time. In fact, in Wick's Discord that very morning, I saw someone take something from Sunday's Discord and put it up there to mock the individual who was speaking in that photo. So it's a question of limits. I don't necessarily think that you can say it's universally wrong if he's... Oh, excuse me, I'm about to have my dog bark furiously.
Yeah, but I think the point that Daedalus is making, maybe to pick up where they left off, is there's not really a good reason to believe that there's some kind of universal rule against taking screenshots on Discord. Obviously, there's plenty of cases where it's justified. Obviously, in this case, it's probably pretty justified. Now you can say maybe but Wick had an expectation or something, but it's kind of a silly expectation, right? Being realistic, you having the expectation people aren't going to take screenshots of your posts on social media, on Discord, on Facebook, on Twitter. It's just a silly idea. Obviously, people are going to do that. You just don't post things to the internet you don't want seen publicly.
I'm not sure if it's even a big topic since Wick and President Sunday talked about it, and President Sunday said, "Oh, fair enough. You decided to ban me. I think it's it's your right. Fair enough if you felt that it's against some of your rules or whatever.
Yeah.
7 days, no big deal."
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not
no,
a
honestly,
big
yeah.
deal, and you shouldn't have an expectation of privacy. I just trying to see it from his perspective here a little bit. It does seem like he's like, dude, what the fuck? This is you're bringing this massive drama into this space from my server. Like, I'm not really comfortable with it. I understand. I think that having that expectation of privacy is stupid, but if he wants to ban the guy for 7 days, I think that's perfectly chill. I think he has like the right to do that, to moderate his own private space that way. But it's also just kind of silly to make a big deal out of it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, he's got a right to do it, and it's like a dorky or whatever to do it, but like, who cares, right? Yeah, I don't know. I think the real maybe the real disagreement we can figure out is just like, is Brianna Wu guilty of some wrongdoing? Like, I know that I think so. I'm guessing that the President Sunday people think so.
What was the specific statement that you would be basing that on?
Oh, I have an issue with her lying. I have an issue with somebody having one position in public and then misrepresenting the positions that they actually hold in private. I have an issue with somebody secretly
Can you
getting black
elaborate
like
on that? Because I didn't really know who she was until I looked into the context. So
Yeah, so she's got a long history of doing this, but the most recent one is basically the thing that I take most issue with is the fact that she secretly held contempt for the Black Lives Matter movement and never voiced this publicly. Now, I would disagree with her if she voiced it publicly, but I don't think it would be that big of a deal, right? I think it's like, yeah, you know what, there are like some reasonable critiques to be made. I would disagree with you at the end of the day, but at least you have a fucking spine. But something about this person who's like running a PAC, who's like running a congressional campaign, and has this long history of lies and is now lying about her political views, that puts a really bad taste in my mouth. I think there's something deeply wrong about that.
sorry, and this Black Lives Matter disdain was voiced inside the
Group
thing,
chat in secret, yeah.
which is what has caused all of that so far.
Yeah. There's that,
Yes.
as well as her attacks on a transgender individual who is on one hand is kind of a fucking dork, but like the way she attacked her is on virtue of the fact that she was trans.
Yeah,
Like,
I feel like there is a degree. I believe you speak about Benny, correct?
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Okay, there's a degree. Like I can understand to a certain degree, like, you know, fighting with Benny, what Brianna Wu was doing, but then turning around and saying, "Wow, Benny's an asshole." That's, you know, pretty valid. I feel like necessarily in disparaging her as a non-passing trans person feels wrong, just beyond the pale of simply pointing out that you dislike a person.
I think that like on one hand it feels like shitty. But like I wouldn't have such a fucking bad taste in my mouth if she wasn't like publicly woke scolding other people about like much more minor things, like the whole fucking Total Biscuit situation. Openly called Total Biscuit as transphobic, as racist, and as sexist as you can be. Those are her fucking words, right? But the dude is like openly, like, even in fucking 2017, until the dude's fucking death from cancer, he was like one of the most pro-trans people online. He, like, if you guys remember the CoxCon R-Traps gay question, he was like on the front lines of like shitting on the fucking person who asked the transphobic question. He got so much fucking backlash for it.
Right.
But she like threw this guy under the bus. Like, so he's one of the few fucking people in the space who is progressive.
And like, am I
He
mistaken?
and Jesse
Wasn't
Cox
she-
had that person removed.
Yup, exactly, yeah.
Right. Like, wasn't Brianna Wu like almost like gloating over
Yup.
his death, if I remember?
Yeah, she said some
correctly?
really fucked shit. Like the fact that like, oh, the only legacy I want to get the exact quote. The most impactful legacy of John Bain, which is Total Biscuit's name, I see is an army of toxic gamers who harass women they don't like in his name.
That was
Genuinely
her
just
quote?
Yeah, it's a direct quote from her, yeah.
And
Genuinely
obviously
disgusting.
that's not
I
true.
know the quote. I just didn't
Yeah.
know it was hers.
Yeah, obviously that's
Yeah.
not true.
The claim isn't true, yeah. I agree, she's lying there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not true.
And it's also a really crappy thing to say to somebody as they're dying of cancer, especially when it's not true.
Right after his death, to be clear, right? Not to the
Well,
guy.
still,
but,
his
like,
family, his
that doesn't
friends,
fix much, yeah.
people in his community.
Yeah.
I mean, it
obviously
doesn't
it's,
make
yeah.
it any
Yeah, exactly.
better. I'm pretty sure his wife was also experiencing some troubles after his death.
Yeah.
Yes, his wife has effectively left public life, but she was
Yeah, she has some
very upset
financial
at the
trouble,
time.
if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
regarding the house and some other things.
What had happened in their particular case is they had put a great deal of money and leverage into a StarCraft 2 esports team. So in that particular case, that was what was happening with them at that time. But old news aside, I think kind of the bigger things I think are this. Brianna Wu makes a tweet the morning before Sunday does his stream, where she categorically states that she unequivocally supports non-binary people, and obviously that wasn't true. There's a whole host of things here to talk about, even kind of the larger aspect of the emerging talk about the debate between self-ID and transmedicalism, whereas
Yeah.
not everyone seems to feel that transmedicalism is a inclusive path forward for the trans community.
In fact, it was used as a tool to enforce, and still in some cases is used as a tool to enforce sterilization on people. We do need to remember that aspect as well.
Now, I do have a question. Now, I know that Neve specifically has, some views regarding, specifically on, transmedicalism and, non-binary people. What would your take be specifically on, Brianna Wu? Would Brianna Wu necessarily be contradicting herself on that?
Well, in my opinion, not at all, right? Because I make the distinction between trans people and non-binary people, right? That is at the heart of my opinion with regards to the communities. I think you could even step outside of trans medicalism and self-ID. I mean, I think self-ID is definitely an issue there for me. But I think the issue is that she is contradicting herself publicly, right?
What's a trans person
Even
on your
though-
view?
Sorry?
What's a trans person on your view? Like, what do you take a trans person to be?
I think that they must meet like a medical requirement. They must be making some sort of like effort to convey themselves as the opposite gender.
The opposite gender? So, like, if you have dysphoria and you're non-binary and you're taking effort to convey yourself in some kind of androgynous way, you wouldn't consider that person trans?
Well, in a conversation about people who are transitioning from one gender to the other, no.
Will you be transitioning from one gender to not having a gender, or from one gender to some kind of neutral ground, or one gender to bigender?
Yeah, they can do that, and I think the validity is in their ballpark to explain to other people. I personally have no quips with that. I just don't think it's trans, and I think that the separation matters in the context of like medicalization and things like that. So
It seems like an arbitrary distinction to say that it has to be. Like, you're just saying, like, you have to be binary to be trans. You're not saying, like, the definition of trans entails it. You're just saying something like, well, my definition of trans is built to entail it.
Cool.
This seems like arbitrary to me.
nice.
So you could just, like, draw the lines around anything. Right? You could be like, oh, well, what I mean when I say trans is, like, when a white person transitions from one gender to the opposite gender. Just, like, any random arbitrary line. It's, like,
Wait,
silly.
so why don't you tell me why you obviously don't make the distinction. So instead of sprigging on my take, why don't you just tell me yours?
Yeah, sure. So the thing that I think that makes somebody trans is identifying as a gender other than the one they were assigned at birth, or not identifying as the gender they were assigned at birth. I think either is sufficient condition.
Cool.
Yep.
I think
I
that
don't
works
think
for
there's any
some
issue with that.
people.
Well,
Well,
yeah,
I think it
don't
works
there's
for
any
some
reductio on the
people.
view.
Sorry?
I don't think there's any reductio on the view. I don't think there's any, like, logical issue. I don't think there's any, like, silly entailments. I don't think it's got arbitrarity issue.
Nice.
So
I know a lot
you
of
just pick
people.
any definition you want or whatever.
Well, I think there is a lot of people that would disagree with you, and I think a lot of people that would be, a lot of trans women, a lot of trans men. I think
They would
that
disagree?
non-binary people, in their own experience, one I can't relate to. They have their own life experience, and I think that's cool and acceptable. But it's not
What
the
are they
same
disagreeing with?
experience.
Yeah, I'm not claiming
Sorry?
it's the same experience. Like, my experience and your experience aren't the same experience, right? But that's, like, irrelevant.
Yeah, so again, I think that the definitions of both, like the way that we exist in life, they shouldn't be conflated with one another. And I think that the way they are in society right now is problematic.
Do you think that it's conflated to the degree where people are saying, like, if you are trans, then you are non-binary, and if you are not trans, then you are binary? I think that's what people are saying.
So my particular reason for this, I think, is that when we get into things like, they, them, I think it's actually reasonable. I don't think it's actually that difficult to incorporate it into everyday language. I do it quite often. When you get into things like neopronouns and you start to get into the weeds when it comes to like ambivalence, gender abolition, then that sort of thing just really doesn't
This isn't really answering my
shouldn't
question at all.
coexist with gender. Well, that's fine. You can state a question and I can just tell you how I feel, right? That's
Yeah, you
definitely
can just
probably
say
more
that.
the
Hold
productive way to get
on.
into the
No,
point of the
no, no, no.
conversation.
I'm curious. I am curious. Okay. Tachyon, who do you agree with? If you were to choose a side,
What is this?
who would you agree with?
I think Neeb is the person who is wearing the white headset.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, I actually probably lean more your way, but I don't know a lot about this topic. I don't know a lot about the transgender stuff, so I'm here partly to learn, but I do think that your arguments about the medical side are probably better from what I've heard so far. But I'm open to hearing other arguments.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
open
that if you
getting a
have to get
response
into
my
like the
question.
mental gymnastics of why your experience is close to mine is so counterproductive to like what you should actually be doing, and that should be like working to further the non-binary movement, as it should exist separate from the trans.
Now the pro Sunday
so-
side. I want to ask the pro Sunday side just one moment, okay? Do you guys believe in neo pronouns?
Why wouldn't I?
Food Shops is trolling me, I swear
Okay,
to God.
okay. If you guys believe in neo pronouns, Tachyon, do you believe in neo pronouns?
No, I don't. I don't really see the value of them.
Food Shops, what are you
Oh
doing?
no!
Or the
Oh my
utility.
god!
Wow.
Oh my god, Neve, do you believe in neo pronouns?
I believe they exist, but I wouldn't like. I would probably reduce them to arbitrary. Like I think they're pretty silly. Yeah.
Yeah, but you have
I
you're
think
okay
that's-
with arbitrary
I think
definitions.
neopronouns. I think Okay, sorry. Am I talking? I think I am.
Yeah, you talk
so
too much.
neopronouns are actually okay. Laugh at your own jokes, and then use that to validate them later. Okay.
That's so true. That was definitely just a joke. I didn't actually mean that.
Totally. Okay. No, I think neopronouns are contributing to the distaste that like cis people have for trans people as a whole.
That's so true. Look, are you able to engage with arguments, or do you just like ramble like a retard?
So
You
you
make the pro
state
Sunday people dislike me, but I don't care.
that's okay. No, I think you would like to set the parameters for the discussion, and then I'm going to
Like getting
engage
an
with what
argument,
I need
my
to say.
question?
Sorry, can I talk? Sorry, I'm
No.
just going to state what I need to state and, reinforce my opinions.
Uh-huh.
And if you want to set a little like target for me to hit in the conversation, you're fine to do so, but I'll engage with it if I feel I should.
If you feel like shit,
If I feel I should.
If you
You
feel
should turn
you
your
should.
headphones up. You should,
I don't think
you
that
should
was
turn
on
your
my end.
headphones
I think
up.
that was you like slurring through your speech or something. Did you
Cool,
come here
wonderful.
sober?
Wonderful.
You're not able to
Why
engage with
would-
arguments. You just like ramble indefinitely. And just like
Okay,
engage with
but you're
nothing.
you're not able to engage in a conversation with your camera on. Can you see why that
That's
would make
so
somebody
true.
feel like a little thing? Yeah, why
I
is
don't
that?
care. I don't care.
Why is that?
I don't care.
Okay.
Because I
Do
didn't
you
want to
feel
turn
like
my
that
camera on
makes
today. I
it
don't want to plug my camera in.
okay? Perfect. Do you feel like that
I've
makes
got like
it a
videos with
little?
my camera on. If
Do
you
you
look at my
think? Do you
fucking
think
face or something.
engaging? Do you think engaging in conversations in bad faith is easier to do with your camera off? Do you think that's the case?
Probably.
Okay.
Do you think that you've engaged in the conversation in good faith by ignoring every question you're asked and rambling like a retard?
I think I've stated my opinions very honestly, and you're free to
No,
do
you
with that
haven't.
information with whatever you want. Yeah,
No, you
absolutely,
haven't.
I have.
No,
Absolutely.
you
I
haven't.
have.
You just ignored any
Well, you can watch
the
the
argument.
you can watch the VOD from yesterday, and I am just as consistent as I am here today. So
Well,
That's
to be
crazy.
clear,
I don't
though,
care that you're
I don't-
consistently
people-
stupid.
Oh, I
you
want to hear
should judge.
Tachyon.
You should judge people based on the arguments that they make, though, not because they're on camera. And I know. Obviously, I'm not on camera. I probably will get a camera at some point soon, but that has no relevance to the argument that they're making, though. We should judge it based on the quality and strength of their argument.
cool.
Infighting? Wait, speaking of infighting, Lucy and Daedalus, what's your thoughts on Synth using the word retard?
Who cares? Oh my god.
It's not my place to enforce rules here. Synth can use whatever word she feels necessary. I wouldn't use it, but I'm not going to impose myself upon her.
I honestly think it's super fair to find it distasteful. Like I'm not even gonna disagree that it's like distasteful.
Fair?
I'm a distasteful person. Everyone knows that.
Well, what's your thoughts on this entire neo-pronoun stuff? Well, how do you justify neo-pronouns and
Nancy.
and stuff, Lucy and Daedalus?
Lucy, feel free.
Oh. Well, what's my thought on neopronouns?
Yeah, you guys haven't been
well,
just to
well, first of all, I don't really think that it's a matter of belief. It's like they exist. It's like we can't not believe in them, you know? Like, and second of
On a
all,
perfectly philosophical level, how are neopronouns any more arbitrary than he, him, she, her, they, them, it's in any way? Like, language is at a certain level arbitrary. To assign one as arbitrary and not the other just is only because one feels common and we use it commonly.
Well,
and as
is
a
it just that it's?
small,
Go ahead.
as a small insert, I would just like to I'm not sure if we're gonna go into that discussion in any way, but I would just like to remind that medicalization as a thing was not exactly created to help trans people. It was actually created to, for example, as I will remind, forced sterilization on people, which is still a thing in many countries. So the term medicalization carries with it a lot of not necessarily positive connotation on its own.
Oh, okay, but wouldn't so free informed consent, the ability for anyone to access, medical, let's say hormone therapy, like HRT right now. HRT is going to render you infertile anyways. So how is that any different
From what?
from what you said, medicalization being used to sterilize people?
Because there's
Like,
a
why
difference
make that distinction
between-
if it's happening either way?
Because there is a difference between consented taking HRT that may or may not make you infertile and making being sterilized a legal requirement to be able to change your gender. I think there's a pretty big distinction there.
They call Lucy the
Okay.
question answerer. She'd be answering the questions and shit.
Do you not see a difference between these things?
I don't know.
No, I
I don't
agree,
think you were. I don't think that I was aware of the first portion of what you had said.
Okay, I just want to know, like, is anybody here supporting like neopronouns?
Yeah, I do.
Yes.
Why? Why?
Um,
Why not?
Why? So the reason
Yeah,
why
I'm
I support
sorry.
the reason why I support neopronouns is just because I don't really think that like policing other people's language usage is always the best idea. I think if somebody's like lying or something, that'd be an issue. But if somebody's just like using language the way they want to, that's not that big of a deal to me.
But
Yeah,
isn't
frankly,
it
it's
also
not my job.
isn't it also kind of actually policing other people's language if you're like, I expect everyone to call me Zer, and like no
I don't
one
think
in
so.
like the normal world, like most people, the
Yeah,
vast majority of people
exactly.
don't use that kind of language, don't understand that kind of language, don't
Agreed.
have any interest.
We-
in it.
Okay,
we
what
need
if you
to
worked
have,
with
like-
what if you worked with someone whose name was Richard and he wanted to be called Richard and you insisted upon calling him Dick? How is that very different?
Well, it's very different
Well-
because we're referring to someone as their name, right? And we're talking
Yeah.
about pronouns. Pretty different.
No, it's not. A pronoun is an extension of your name. It's how you identify yourself.
No, it's
Yeah,
not.
but in
You're silly.
but in a conversation about pronouns, neopronouns specifically, then how would you feel like somebody shortening someone else's name in a societally? I don't know. That's stupid as fuck to me. I don't know why you would just call someone Dick if their name was Richard. But I get what you're saying with this, and it's just irrelevant.
Do you want to tell why it's irrelevant, or you just want to like cast out that it's irrelevant while you're just like
Because we're discussing neopronouns, right? And I think that people who don't people who don't want to use pronouns or neopronouns or anything, respectfully, they're probably just going to call you your name, right? So it just doesn't make sense that like if that's what we're not doing to not favor that, then I just don't see how it's analogous to use like somebody's name.
Yeah, what's the dissimilarity do you think is morally relevant?
Well, one is a person's name, which is something that I think it's perfectly reasonable in society for people to expect to be called their name. It's not reasonable to infinitely affirm that somebody is something that most people, the vast majority of people, don't have any reason to think is real, like Zer, or if they identify as like a dog or whatever. Like we wouldn't infinitely affirm and be like, no, you have to bark at me, you have to like.
Yeah, but
it
nobody
doesn't
looks-
seem
Who
like-
has ever done?
They're not
Wait,
thinking- they're
who
not
has ever
thinking.
done that? Who
Well,
has ever
the
said, "I
other-
want you to bark at me"?
the
Like, what the
otherkin-
hell?
the otherkin
This is the most
people-
internet disgrace.
The other kin
Disguised
people
The
conversation.
do
older
identify as.
people. Oh, jeez.
Look, like the otherkin people who identify as animals are not the same as people who are using like xenogenders or neopronouns, right? There's like a difference. I
You guys
understand that-
won't, but you guys won't take the time to make that distinction, right? Like, there's no like calling people out in your community side of things. You guys think everyone is
Yeah, I don't
fun,
think that
having a great time, right?
No, I think that a person
I-
who thinks
I-
they're a dog
Because
is
you don't
saying
take the
something
time.
false.
Because you don't take the time to call out people's language. You said that yourself, right? So
Hold on. Do you understand the difference between calling out pure language usage and calling out somebody lying?
I think in a practical sense, you've made it pretty clear.
Yeah, I made it very clear. Yeah, I made the distinction very clear. Thank you.
I
Moving
think
on.
it's fucked up. Like I personally think it's
Well,
fucked
I
up.
don't think
when
that's
you have, like-
helping
no,
your
no,
position the way
listen,
you think it is. but-
Listen,
You want to tell why it does?
I think it's fucked up when you have these
Didn't think so.
olikins and that kind of shit. Well,
Looking
you
like a portal gun.
definitely have like fucking trans people like having like a hard time, and meanwhile you have these people that calling themselves like fairy gender or whatever. Like I think that's fucked up.
You think it's
So-
fucked up
I
to
think it's
call yourself fairy
transphobic.
ginger?
I think it's transphobic.
Yeah,
what's
it
transphobic
is
about it?
transphobic. It is
I think it's
transphobic.
very transphobic,
Yeah, you
especially
already
said
because
you
I
think
make
it's
the
transphobic.
distinction.
It's
Well, okay,
transphobic.
listen.
It's transphobic. It's transphobic.
Okay.
2 times in a row. Just say why you
You
think
realize
it's
you
transphobic,
could- you
or
realize
say
you
what you
could
think
turn-
transphobia is.
Okay, you could unplug your mic, turn your computer off, and go have this conversation
You
with
could
yourself in the
log out.
bathroom.
You could
If
log
you just
out.
want to stop,
You haven't
if you want to
answered any
just turn your own voice, right? You know that's an option for you, right?
You're just
Okay.
crying. You're just crying
Oh, yeah.
with your
well,
Arbitrage Science looking ass.
Fucking
Just make an
fairy
argument.
gender.
Okay, can I
What the
talk?
fuck is going on there?
Can I talk?
Instead of repeating yourself 2 times in a row, yeah, say something original and new. Say something novel. She's
You just
dumbfounded.
like
What?
hearing yourself. Well, you just like hearing your own
She has nothing to
voice.
say.
Like I just super cringe. Like I don't think
It's
you
so
understand how you
cringe.
sound.
It's really
I don't
cringe
think you
and not
understand how
even
you sound
they.
right now.
Really?
No, I
Log
don't think you
off.
do.
Be on the internet less often.
All right.
I don't think you understand.
Points only. Points only.
Like, yeah,
You
I
don't
know.
look good in this
The
discussion. Like,
the
there's no
autism
way
is
that you think you're looking
strong
good
in
here.
this one. The autism is strong in this one.
I'm 100% sure you're diagnosed. Like, you can throw that the autism accusation all you want or whatever, right? You
I
look
don't
good in
think
this
there's
conversation.
anything wrong with having autism. I just think that
Then
I'm
why'd you
gonna
use it as an
factor.
insult, dumbass.
What? That's your
Oh,
okay. Well,
jeez.
that's your impression. All I'm saying is that I'm gonna
Anybody
factor
who-
it. In.
What?
Okay, can I talk or
My
say anything,
impression?
or are you just gonna interrupt me?
Are you
Shut
gonna
the
say
fuck
anything that's
up.
irrelevant? Shut the
Shut the
fuck
fuck
up.
up.
Shut the fuck up.
All
What
right,
I'm saying-
Sam, calm down. Sam, calm down. All right, Sam, calm down. Calm down.
Okay,
I got
what
it, I
I'm
got it.
saying is that you having autism, I'm going to factor it into our personal interactions throughout this conversation.
That's true. When you said the autism is strong
Alright,
with this one, you
thank
totally
you,
didn't mean an
Jen.
insult. Did you know like normal people would interpret that as an insult, or did you actually not mean it that way?
No, I think I have a lot of compassion for people with autism. And if it's the fact that you do have autism, then I'm not going to sit here and try
I
and
love
dunk on
this
you throughout
talking
the
out
whole
of both sides of your mouth.
conversation. Okay, shut the fuck up.
Okay, okay. All
How
right.
would you
I'm
even
gonna-
know that? You haven't
I'm
heard that.
gonna
You
do-
haven't
okay,
heard a thing I've
stop,
said this
stop,
entire
stop.
time. You've been trying to
All
talk
right,
over
to
me.
bring it back to
Let the
Brianna
content
Wu,
happen.
to bring it back to Brianna Wu. Okay, I'm gonna ask the second question. All right, I'm gonna ask the second question. Unless you guys have any more to say specifically on the topic of neopronouns.
I mean,
I
Okay?
do.
Yeah,
I've
they're
got so much more to
transphobic and we
say.
shouldn't.
Is
they're
there
transphobic, we
any
shouldn't
way?
use
Is there
them.
any way to move the conversation forward?
Yes.
Yeah,
How?
since mutes his
How?
mic,
How?
mutes their mic when I'm talking.
That works too.
Synth mutes their mic when I'm talking and then just doesn't talk when anyone else is talking. But I don't know if they're capable of doing that.
Wait,
Look, I understand
that's
that she's
not,
got,
no,
like,
no, legitimately.
No
How
capacity
do
controller
you?
stuff. I've got a
no,
way.
no,
Look,
no.
I'll show you.
Sorry,
you,
so
look.
you're literally
Food
doing
shop.
it right now.
Oh my
You're
God.
literally doing
no,
it
no,
right
no,
now.
no, no, no,
What would
stop,
you do?
stop. Actually, is there
Are
any
you capable of
legitimate
having
way?
a conversation?
No, no, no,
This
no,
is
no,
the legitimate way for us to move forward in a conversation. Since not interrupting people when they talk.
No,
She's
no,
so
is
mad.
there no, no, no? Is there actually any legitimate way to
Yes.
like point? What is the next point?
I got you.
To convince the other person.
It's one simple question, right? Food Shops as a moderator, like the only thing I can do is hope that maybe you'll press the retarded guest on answering it. But the question is just, what do you think transphobia is?
Okay.
Who are you
Go
posting
it.
this to?
You.
I think transphobia, in my definition, would be any act to like, I don't know, like delegitimize a trans person in society. A lot of that would be, and when I say delegitimize, I mean like more like, committing violent acts against a trans person would be like would be transphobic because of having that be the only reason that you're committing like violence against them. I think for one. But no, yeah, I think it's transphobic because it's trivializing the use of pronouns that are important to people who are binary trans and people who obviously rely on the distinctions to get by in everyday life.
So on your definition, being an ugly trans person is going to be transphobic. That's silly. That's a silly definition. I want to try it again.
Well, do you want to lay that out for me, or are you just going to say that and hope I accept it as fact?
For the same reason that it makes trans people look bad to use xenopronouns or neopronouns, the same is going to be true of an ugly trans person. It's going to make trans people look bad.
So
Trivialize
you're
them. Oh my
not.
God.
So you're not changing my position right now. I don't know if that's your approach or your intent here, but
Yeah, you personally changing your mind is not my goal in the conversation. Like, I don't care about you personally. You're like very clearly like entrenched in your views and not willing to engage.
Okay, wait, stop. Points only.
I think I've been having a conversation. I think that you're making a lot of assumptions in this conversation, and I don't think that you're very optically. I don't think you're very optically conscious. I just think
You're
that
not doing well on optics either.
Stop. Points
Like, I don't
only.
think you're winning on
Points
that.
only.
You're not winning on
Move
substance.
forward
We're on
and
optics.
make
I don't know why you're helping on this.
Okay, so I think that I'm like I said, I'm staying true to my opinions, and you were speaking over people. So I mean, take with
You
take that
ignoring
with what you will.
argument and like having a panic attack and freaking out and getting laughed at is not
Oh,
optically
okay, all
good.
right. No, none of this
Just
panic
make a
attack
counter argument.
effects. Okay, you
I
guys are
think
just literally
me
making certain effects
trying
every
to-
5 seconds.
Talk over you because you're talking over me. Would you like? You would see that as anger? Do I
No,
look
I see
angry
the-
at all to
I
you
see
right now?
Yeah, you kind of actually do look super angry. You're making like the super big frowny face. But just
Well,
go ahead
wait,
and
wait,
address the
you
argument.
can't say that when
I
your
think
hand
this is just
on.
the way
Can
I
I,
am.
can I ask
but
a question about this? This
Maybe
is perhaps the
make a
wrong
counter argument though.
This is perhaps the wrong audience to ask because obviously I feel like I'm like at a panel where people are just talking past each other and not engaging super great faith. But when it comes to the neo-pronoun stuff, what do you think the expectation should be for other people? Like if you want to call yourself Zer or whatever, right? But like when you interact with other people in the world, what should that expectation be?
You probably shouldn't expect that other people are going to call you by your neo-pronouns. But if you want to use those alongside like something like they or something, I don't think there's any issue with that. And some people will call you by it.
Okay, thanks.
I personally have no problem with calling somebody by a pronoun that they choose. It costs me nothing.
Yeah, it's like free, and for some people it's pretty easy. I know that like for a lot of people it might be kind of difficult to retrain your brain for pronouns, but like it's already good to do that just for the sake of trans people, broadly. So, in the case of like people who use neo pronouns, I think that's fine too.
Okay.
I
Okay.
guess there's yes.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. No, of course.
Okay. I just feel that the argument around pronouns feels a bit empty to me. It feels like a pointing to normalcy, to what's normal, as to a person is saying that pronouns are bad because they won't be perceived as normal, and certain things as opposed to the things that are normal. And I just think that it's not really a strong argument, considering that most bigots will simply not really see the difference between pronouns or the so-called binary pronouns. To a bigot, a trans woman will be a man. They will say, you're policing my language just by expecting me to call you she, her. So I'm not sure if that argument really holds any water.
Well, you
Yeah,
want to
and in
talk
the
about.
broader,
Go ahead.
Please,
You
go ahead.
first.
in the broader sense, language isn't static. It does not stay the same. It changes over time. Words are added to the language. New definitions come up for old words. So, like I don't necessarily see a normalization of language as even possible, or we should really apply it in this case as really a case of special pleading. Really, at the end of the day, like words change all the time. Ain't used to be considered improper English when I was in primary school. Now it's in the dictionary. It's always changing, and so like it would be difficult for me to sit on an argument of normalcy and when it comes to what language is.
I do want to ask though too about like, do you think it's useful to like talk about this in like terms of like bigotry? Because like obviously there are people who like hate trans people like legitimately, but I think like most people, even like a lot of people who are more like centrist or center right, they'll be like, I don't really know about this stuff, and I think if you're an adult, you should be able to do whatever you want. Some of the kids stuff, I'm a bit more, undecided on. Some of the sports stuff, I'm a bit more undecided on. And you're like, oh, well, you're a bigot. Like, is that even useful to engage in that way, or is it better to like, well, let's talk about that. Let's see what the good arguments are. Let's see what the science says, and let's see what X, Y, and Z.
When it comes to like neopronoun discussions, no, it's probably really dorky to go ahead and be like, you're a bigot if somebody disagrees with them. Even if it's true or something, like even if you have some argument for it and you think it's true, it's really not that effective. Yeah, that would be optically bad. That would be optically kind of silly.
Yeah, I'm not personally. I talked about on my own channel not too long ago the nature of meeting people where they're at, and obviously throwing yourself to the first place where you're calling names is not going to meet people where they're at. But at the same time, I also need to recognize that I am in a position where I feel much safer and I'm more capable of doing that than other people. So, like whether I would do the thing or not, I think really depends on where you're sitting, what your perspective is, and whether you feel like, because I feel like the person who's going to call you a bigot does not wish to engage with you in the first place. So if that's the case, then someone like myself who might be more able to talk about the thing because I don't feel immediately threatened is going to be less likely to go to that.
Well, this might be a good segue for Kat's next part. She wants to bring it back to Brianna Wu, but I do feel that some people
Yes.
use the term bigot and make these accusations in order to shut down conversations rather than have those conversations.
Yeah, sure. I think the rhetoric conversation is a topic for another time. Obviously, like that's a completely different topic, and we had a lot of that talk, yesterday. When it came, by the way, the entire talk was about transmedicalism, and that was a clusterfuck of a panel. I'm gonna tell you that right now. We have tackled subjects that has gone far beyond anything Twitchpool has ever talked about, said cancelable stuff that Twitchpool has ever said before, just because I was the one that was organizing it. You're welcome. Okay, all right, because if it was organized by anybody who was not a transgender woman, they would have been obliterated. Okay, but anyhow, so my second question is this. Okay, in the meantime, one side of the aisle has been saying that since Whick is growing larger and larger, that even his public Discord server is no longer going to remain a safe space from being made into content, especially the general chat. However, the other side of the aisle says that no matter what, the users of the Discord server never consented to be made into content and would never chat there if they were turned into content while being posted online. Do you think that it is reasonable to expect the Discord chat of a public figure to be treated in the public spotlight? If so, to what degree? Would it be the same as on Twitter? Should it be as reclusive as possible? Discuss.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
they don't consent. Oh, you go ahead first.
To be perfectly frank, it feels somewhat ridiculous to imagine that your public-facing servers channels are private. They're public-facing server channels. And insofar as Wix community expectation goes, it's never been a safe space. It's barely moderated. Basically nearly anything goes anyway. So I don't necessarily know I'd make that argument at all.
I think it's reasonable. I'm just gonna say that it's not this isn't Brianna Wu isn't the first person this has happened to. Discord chats and whatever have been leaked for years. So it's kind of like a norm at this point. So if you had the expectation that it should be private, then you would be kind of naive.
The other thing I'd point out is I think all of us here are content creators, and at least I've made it an objective to create a space by moderating it in which people feel safe and secure. And that means telling them sometimes to not say things or to keep it to themselves. So I can't change your thoughts, but I can certainly police my space. So if that's the concern, moderate.
True. You have the tools too. Especially Wix, since he's growing larger and larger.
Is he? Actually, let's look.
I mean, that was
I
the
think-
claim, so I believe it. I don't check, I just believe.
No disagreement.
No, I think we all agree. You're just kind of silly if you don't. If you think it's just not gonna get recorded.
All right, sure. Okay,
there's
I mean,
no
if
Wick on
so,
Social Blade.
yeah, I mean, if so, then we can just go directly to the third question, which is proponents on Sunday's End might argue that promoting a person such as Brianna Wu will be sending a bad message. However, on the other side, pragmatism is more important than simply a few differences. Where would you draw the line between somebody that is too problematic to simply associate with for the sake of pragmatism and making a difference in the real world? When does somebody stop being worth it? Discuss.
Oh God.
I might
Holy
have
shit,
some
she's
interesting
so far.
insight here, actually, because I was involved with. I'm not going to talk about it too much, but I was involved with an online
Say it.
community.
No,
And
actually, just say it. Why
I
not?
was involved with the Gamergate conversation, and as a part of that conversation, I obviously interact with a lot of people, and every once in a while you'd run into a bad actor, and I think that when somebody crosses the line, and those lines might be different for different communities, but I think that something like doxing or sending death threats to people is obviously a line that absolutely can't be crossed. Now, when it comes to something more nuanced like lying, I think that you obviously should call out the lies and be like, hey, look, what you said wasn't true. But I don't know if that means you cut them out entirely. This whole Brianna Wu conversation does have sort of a cancel culture aspect to it. It seems like a lot of the people who hate Brianna Wu want to go after her and like take her down and destroy her publicly. And I don't know if that's like good, actually. I don't know if that's good for society. Like, even if Brianna Wu did lie about this, her public and private views are different. And she is a public figure in the sense of being like a politician, so that's a bit different. But like, to say that she can't like be in the streamer community too is a bit. It feels very much like you're trying to like destroy this person rather than you're trying to claim a scalp. It feels like, and I don't know if that's like good.
Yeah, I don't think the view is that like Brianna Wu can't be in any space or something. I think the issue is just that it's kind of optical suicide. Ironically, I have a pragmatic view on this. I think that it's kind of optical suicide to let Brianna Wu into your movement. Like everywhere she goes, she's kind of like optical hell for whoever side she's on. It's an optical nuke for whichever side lets her in and tries to defend her. And I mean, like, this is like one of many fuck ups in a long history of fuck ups. If this was like a one-off lie, then it's like, yeah, I mean, kind of fucking cringy, but like not that big of a deal at the end of the day. People can reform, people can get better. But she's got like a long fucking history of just like insane lying. Like Tachyon, you said you were in Gamergate. Do you remember like the literal woo thing? Like literal who, literal woo?
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yep. The reason
I don't support using that kind of language, to be clear, and I didn't then either. But
I mean, I think it's I don't see.
I think it's fair.
Like
I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's like evil or anything. But I don't personally speak that way.
Well, like she in particular, right? The reason why the meme came about is because like she had been like harassed by Gamergate, and like nobody knew who the fuck she was. She had like just made this the fuck up, and like she did this like several times in a row with like fake harassment campaigns. Like claimed that somebody was like sending her private death threats. Turns out they were just like a shit poster who didn't send her shit. Said that like the police had arrested them. Turns out they had just like they had filmed like the police had arrested them and they had crashed their car on their way to go kill her. And it turns out they had just like they were just the shit poster had just crashed their car street racing. She had said like that she like did that fucking crazy Steam green lighting thing. Do you remember that shit, Tachyon?
I do indeed remember this. Yes, I believe Kat and I have talked about it actually.
Yeah.
But look,
she's just
obviously,
longest...
she obviously blew up that video from the comedian guy who crashed his car. Like obviously that was obviously he was literally a comedy YouTube guy who made all sorts of weird skits. That was obviously fake. And the Steam when she posted that very suspicious topic on her forums, that was very weird and obviously very suspicious. But also she did receive legit harassment on at least one occasion. There was a third-party troll who was not associated with Gamergate called Pterodax, and he actually did send her. He trolled everybody. He trolled pro Gamergate people too. I know people who he harassed. Arguably, I mean, what do you want to call what he did harassment is? But he did send her like he sent her a picture of a gun, and he was a third-party troll not associated with GG. And then also, so to be clear, like she did receive like that actual harassment, and we had like over 50 people mass reporting it on the Gamergate side because we're like, hey, look, this is an actual harassment, this is actual death threats. We don't want our community to be associated with this. So and of course, this guy wasn't even one of us. He was going after our people too. And then of course, Ethan Ralph did actually have like I don't know if you want to call it harassment, but he was on his private. I have logs I can show you. He was a bad actor in Gamergate that no one wanted to associate with for the most part. But he was like a legit bad guy. But he actually did talk about how he wanted to make a hit piece on Brianna Wu, basically, where he wanted to do a live stream show attacking Brianna Wu. And he also did associate himself with doxers.
Well, yeah, but that's that's like a four-dimensional guilt by association. I think Ethan Ralph's like a piece of shit. Like, I don't think that like him making a fucking hit piece on her and like fucking doing a live stream talking shit on her is like that. I don't think that's.
I don't think it's the end of the world, but like you could call that harassment maybe if because like it is weird, dude. Like, why do you want to?
Do you think someone who
do this?
associates with doxers should be like making exposés and not like making strict claims?
Absolutely
like,
not.
Absolutely
not. I don't support Ralph in any way, shape, or form. The vast majority of people in Gamergate condemned him. By the way, Kotaku in Action banned his website. He's on the tier 3 block list. Okay, like this.
Tachyon. Would you say Gamergate was a harassment campaign?
I would not say that. I'd say that that was a smear that partly Brianna Wu spread. But Brianna Wu also was harassed by some people.
Oof. So you're against Brianna Wu for a completely different reason than these other pro
Yeah,
Sunday
he's against her
people.
for being right.
I don't think so. I don't think he's against her for being
Ooh.
right. I think he's
You
against
guys
her
are-
for being wrong. I think she
You guys
just
are
said some crazy
uniting
shit.
against You guys are uniting against Brianna Wu for different reasons.
No, me and Tachyon have very similar reasons. We're not different reasons. We both did. I mean, I don't know
think
what
to come
Foodshop's
back
about.
to come back to
Foodshop, what is
the
wrong
issue
with
at
you?
hand.
Why are you like this?
To come back to the issue at hand, I think the question is not that Brianna Wu should be excluded from a space. I think the question is that Brianna Wu should engage authentically with that space, that she should be held to account for what she views and to speak with her chest when she has a viewpoint.
Yeah.
Because like that's the standard, I think, that the minimum standard of entry that should be for this space is that you should get up and you should be ready to fight for what you believe in and not sit in the dark and mutter it.
Okay,
Yeah,
but
I think
if
you're
we're
I
talking
think you're
about
like a
a
dumb
space
fuck
like
if you ever
Wick,
trust anything she says.
if
I
we're
think you're like
talking
any-
about a space
Go
like
on.
Wix, then Wick doesn't have standards, so that's ridiculous to say.
Yeah, look,
Wick is
saying
not the
Wick's-
only person involved here.
No, but
Yeah,
he
we all
doesn't have
agree. Look.
standards, so that's never going to happen.
No, that's
And
that's fine.
secondly,
My point is
like,
not
it's
like
one
Wick
thing
doesn't
to
have.
say-
Oh my god.
No, let me finish.
You go,
It's one
you
thing
go.
to say that she should have standards. Like, yeah, every personal person should have standards for themselves. It's another thing to say that when other people think she doesn't have standards, we should automatically favor those people over what Brianna Wu says. If you're just gonna have this one-way narrative that forgets that she may actually have standards for herself that we just don't relate to or notice at the moment, then I think that your narrative is very lacking in actually attacking Wu as a person.
Well, that's not what I said, is it? I said that she should say those
No, it
things with her
relies on
chest
it.
out
It
loud.
relies on that assumption.
How does it rely on that assumption?
Because because if the whole thing is like she should have standards, and if she doesn't, then we should get rid of her. And if she has
not what I
standards
said, though.
already, then well,
Yeah, nobody's
Who's
saying
gonna
if she
police
has
it?
What we're saying is
Who's
that
gonna
she
police
should
that?
speak those
Who's gonna
things
police
out
that?
loud.
If the
We should
issue
what?
is there's
Thing.
one specific standard, there's one specific standard that we're taking issue with or not upholding, which is like not being a lying piece of shit.
but how do you know the difference between being a lying piece of shit and being wrong? Like somebody mentioned Black Lives Matter earlier.
Because
as far
she
as I
said
looked
one thing in
into it,
privately and a different thing in public.
Publicly proclaims that she did a thing which she in private did
she
the
didn't
opposite
say
of.
anything in public for a long time, and then she said something differently in public. Whether or not what she said privately really reflects
What
on
she
her
said in
journey
private.
is a
Oh my
Oh my
different
god, then she'd be
thing.
lying in private. What she said in private was that she held her views, that she kept her views secret.
It seems to be more about rioting than about BLM, so maybe you should get your
No, it was
facts
specifically
straight.
about BLM. You should get your facts straight. Go look it up, dummy.
Are you steel manning or do you support Brianna Wu?
I don't. I'm guessing that she's been demonized because that's what Gamergate victims have had happen to them. It's
Oh.
very
I just
clear,
wasn't sure where
based
you
on the
stood on
rhetoric,
the
that
issue.
Doing no
none of
Were you
you
research
listening
have
before?
any actual criticisms of anything she's actually done, and every time you try to hit, you miss.
Okay, but
Ninetales, you've once again
but
jumped the
before
gun
you
and done
came
no
in,
research on the topic you're talking about. What was the quote that
I've
you were
already
talking about
done
regarding
research
BLM?
on this. I debated Tachyon,
Answer my
you dumb fuck.
Answer my question, dummy.
What was it?
Look, the question is just, we made a specific claim about her talking about BLM. You said no, it was more about the rioting. What did she say about BLM?
Look, I'll go back to exactly what she said because I have it, and it was about rioting.
It was about BLM and rioting. It was about the rioting that she's blaming BLM for.
Maybe.
So give me a quote then. If like, why are you so afraid of giving me the quote
It was
you want
posted
to have?
publicly. You said that I haven't done my research. You were calling me on my bullshit.
No,
you
I
were
have
trying
it
to
in my
do.
bookmarks. Let me find it.
Go ahead, pull it
You
up.
could just give it to me sooner if you
No,
weren't.
I want to hear it out of your mouth. It's funnier
Of course
that
you do,
way.
because you're too afraid to say it yourself.
We've all seen it.
Well,
You're the only
Ninetales-
person in the dark here.
Ninetales, you said
Yeah,
that
Tachyon, can
you said
say
that
it?
you said that Gamergate was about harassment, but do you know what percentage of Gamergate people engaged in harassment? Because we have 2 studies on this. It was 0.66% is what one study found. Another study did not look at harassment itself, but looked at negative sentiment and found that only 1.26%, I believe it was 1.26, I can pull it up here, but 1.26% of the people had sent tweets containing negative sentiment towards people. Okay? Like this idea that Gamergate was about harassment is just not true. And I kind of resent that you coming in this space and saying this. I think that you should back it up with some sources if you're going to make accusations against people that I know and that people.
I think
that
I already
care
have, and
about.
you're just ignoring them. Because I sent you sources, and you're ignoring them. I also sent other
Send me
forms
YouTube
like
videos.
video. No, that wasn't it. See, like, this is what I mean, how you've been ignoring my sources. Because if that's all you think that I've sent, then you've clearly been ignoring the non-video sources at your own convenience. The point being that, like, yeah, you can actually critique BLM for the rioting if you do it right. And chances are, nobody here who's critiquing her is nuanced enough to tell the difference between if she's critiquing the rioting versus critiquing BLM. And I doubt that any of you actually carry a concern for that criticism, aside from wanting to hold her to a double standard.
Like,
by the
Push-ups,
way,
can
like,
you
if you're gonna
restate-
accuse me of dodging,
hold-
I have
if
a right
we
to respond to
have-
that. If you're gonna accuse
if
me
we
of
have
dodging,
your
what am I
contribution.
dodging?
One
I
at a
was
time.
with
One at
us.
a time. One at a time.
Good jobs. Can you
You're
restate
dodging the
your
actual
original?
evidence I sent you. Here, I'll send it to you again.
Can you restate the question and then have Nine answer it? Because I feel like she's leaning one way, but I just want to hear her say it. I don't know.
Specifically, like the question I wrote down, right?
Like the pragmatism versus like run them out of town witch hunt type thing, I think.
Okay, so specifically the question I wrote down on the document is proponents on Sunday's end might argue that promoting a person such as Brianna Wu will be sending a bad message. However, on the other side, pragmatism is more important than simply a few differences. Where would you draw the line between somebody that is too problematic to simply associate with for the sake of pragmatism and making a difference in the real world? When does somebody stop being worth it?
I'm just going to say this much, like, this is not how the space handles most people. Like, most people are not, like, they're not run out because they have a double standard. There are plenty of people who are loved because they have a double standard. Doobie is a perfect example of that. The reason that we see this time and time again, that people have double standards, is because either people evolve or people say some dumb shit and then never actually change it because they thought they said it in private.
So pragmatic.
You know, the same people who are defending those individuals are defending this one, right? Like, this is like mostly a DGG Twitter retard campaign. Ninetales.
Maybe DGG is the R-slur campaign, the ableist campaign. Seems more likely.
It seems like you like to make accusations
talking
against large
about?
groups of people, Ninetales.
Without putting any
Where's
effort into
DGG?
research.
DGG is doing bad stuff.
Yeah, they make it easy.
So could I answer?
So, if we really want
Wait,
to
wait,
unpack
hold
what
on,
to do
hold
with
on.
Brianna Wu,
Hold on, I want
What's-
Lucy
what-
to
does
answer
anyone-
first. Because Lucy has been wanting
sorry.
to answer for a little bit
she's just
now.
very
so-
quiet for me. So my
And
bad.
yeah.
Should I speak? Is
No,
it
that's
okay
that's
now?
much louder. Yes, that's much louder and
Yeah.
clear. Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that, to me personally, the problem is twofold. The problem is, of course, the double standard, but to me, the problem is, of course, what the double standard itself represents. And where I draw the line when it comes to people like Brianna, who is not the bad optics or Brianna Wu being problematic, but the fact that her private interactions indicate that she is perfectly okay and perfectly willing to discard a whole group from a community in order to further political goals. And that is basically where I draw the line, discarding whole
This-
groups of people to advance a goal.
This doesn't make sense because if she said it in private, then she's not expecting it to disenfranchise the groups that she's supporting publicly.
If she said it in private, that means she's willing to do it in public when it's opportune.
No,
Well,
it only means that she's willing
but like
to do
to
it in
be
private.
fair,
You're trying to
before you
extend
got
this
here-
logic further than it goes.
but before you got here, we were debating on whether the expectation should be that if you were posting something in private as a person of whatever significance, that should the assumption be that it's public anyways, because the likelihood of somebody posting it is so high. That's the context you don't have right now. That's why I think why Lucy said is actually kind of reasonable.
No, because most professional interactions between streamers are done in confidence.
Hardly
But
any
there was
are.
there was more than just streamers
Speak
there,
for yourself.
right?
Pardon?
There was more than just streamers there. Like, am I wrong? Was that just not like a general chat, or not a general chat, like a private chat? Like, not everyone there was a streamer.
No, I don't agree that. Okay, just to be clear, I don't agree. Wick server was private. So if she's saying that that's in private, I disagree. If she said something in a private message, and I'm pretty sure it was a private message, if I'm not mistaken. It's the thing that she said in Wick server that seems to contradict it.
No, it's the
Do we know
the thing
that?
that we're talking about is not the Wix server
No,
thing. The thing that's
she-
being talked about is the group chat on Twitter.
Yeah, she's definitely in the group chat for that. Some of those messages.
How many people are in this group chat?
I don't know.
How
That I
closed
don't
off is it
know.
supposed to be?
That information wasn't disclosed. Only the information relevant to her
Like, it could
hypocrisy
be.
was
It could be
disclosed.
two. It could just be one extra person. Then it counts as
There was
a
like
group
5
chat.
to 6 that you could observe, probably. Like, it wasn't small.
Well, 5 to 6 is pretty small, especially
No,
if
at least
those are like
5 to
people
6.
that you would
No,
know.
no, 9
If those are
No,
people
like
that
at
you would know.
least. Because but there's a lot of discourse coming from a lot of people. So I'm just saying that because I saw like 5 to 6 people say something, but there was a lot going on, like people replying to replies and stuff. So
It's important to remember that this tacitly supports the act of leaking DMs, which I will not condone. Like, I think what people say in private should be kept private.
Insane views. Look, I don't see anything.
In a
that's
perfect world,
super fucked up
yes.
in private,
Insane
so everyone should see all of my messages in private.
Well, here's
in a perfect world, yes.
Here's a question that I think we should ask too. The people who want Brianna Wu gone from this space, what do you think should happen to her? What does that look like in practice? Because that kind of is important here.
No, fuck.
Are
I don't think
any of
anybody
those
else
people
wanted it.
here?
Well, I just wanted to point
Like,
out,
I don't
does
think
anyone,
humans want
does
that.
anyone who's
I'm kind of
speaking against her have
conflicted.
real constructive criticism for her? Do you have any constructive criticism?
I'm
Yeah,
just
maybe
conflicted
that's
on the
not mine.
idea.
Skills
Said in this
issue.
chat.
Maybe it's just
Like-
a skills issue, and like this is why you want to get rid of her.
So true.
I don't
The-
think that I. Sorry, go for it. Did I just?
Sorry, my push to talk was fucked up there for a second. Yeah, I don't think that the reason why anybody here is like wants to criticize her is because we want her like out of the space forever or something. I think that the two big pieces of criticism for Brianna Wu are: one, stop constantly fucking lying and seek therapy for that. There has to be some reason why you constantly do this thing where you seek attention by lying publicly. And two, maybe take a fucking break for just a little bit and come back and stream like a normal person, stream video game content. Maybe politics is not the place for somebody who doesn't have the ability to handle this kind of situation. You can't do that. You can't like do politics if it's the case you're going to constantly fucking lie. People aren't going to trust you. It's your bad.
Maybe you could also not narrate her
Well,
experiences lying when you don't actually know what's in her heart.
I do know that what the thing
We
she
have
said is that she
publicly
lied.
seen her lie.
About what?
About the
She
fact that she
posted.
said that her public view is that she was silent on the BLM issue. She was silent on the BLM issue because of the fact that she thought there was resentment on there. She said that she was a cybersecurity expert during a congressional campaign. She said that both of her parents were
So
millionaires.
she said she was against the rioting that
She said that
BLM
both
did,
of her
which is a
parents. No, she said
common.
the BLM riots. She called them the BLM riots, right? So let's
Yes,
get correct.
it's common
So-
for BLM people to
Jesus
be
Christ.
against the riots. That's nothing new.
It's common for BLM people to be against the riots. I
Yes.
agree. Saying you
Yeah,
were silent on it is different than saying something like, I am against the riots. There's a big difference between I was silent on the riots despite knowing I had an issue with them, and
No,
saying
because
something
that
like,
was a private
I am not against the
conversation
riot.
that you were a part of that you're making assumptions of. The people in that conversation already had the context. You're seeing the conversation out of context and assuming that that's what she meant.
I assume that she meant the words she said?
Yeah, because
Yeah, obviously, that's how words work.
In the context that they understood. When they
What
heard
context
that,
do you think is gonna
talking
fix
about
the situation of her obviously admitting to lying? What's the context?
Do you understand why journalistic integrity involves adding context to things like this and not just quote?
Adding
clicking
context. Sometimes adding relevant
Yeah,
context.
you don't just
not
click
adding the
quote.
entire message history.
So, if anything, for you, how do you know that this DM or like her other view or what she said publicly doesn't add context to her
Because
private
she
DMs?
said that she kept silent on an issue she had publicly. She said she kept silent on it.
Well, yeah, because maybe she doesn't want it actually like hurt the BLM movement. Maybe she's not as against it as you're narrating.
Oh, no,
her
no.
as
She gave
being.
us her motivations. She didn't want the trouble. She didn't want the fucking backlash. Did you read any of these? Are you just talking out of your ass?
Seems like
Nigel?
she's aware of the consequences of her actions and avoiding it by what you're saying.
Yeah,
yes, I did.
exactly. She's aware that people will be mad at her if she says this. So because she's fucking
No, she's aware
spineless,
that it
she's
would
not
hurt
saying it.
people to
No, that's not what she said. No, that's not what she said. She gave her motivations, Ninetales. Is that she didn't want the trouble. She didn't want the backlash. That's not saying something like, I don't want to hurt the movement. That's saying it will be bad for me.
It sounds like she's picking her battles. Like, it's all perception in there.
If you pick your battles by going silent on an issue that you think the left is wrong on, you're fucking silent. I feel
But
like
she's only
you're
one
fucking spineless.
person. She's
Yeah,
only
but if
one
you're
person.
silent,
People
Plenty of
ration
people are
energy.
only one person.
People partition their energy for particular
time,
things
one
that she
time.
didn't feel like she was able to do it. If that was part of the reason, then I don't know. Like, I would sympathize with that.
If you're publicly defending the fucking leftist movement when they're doing fucked up shit, and then privately you're saying, man, I just don't want the trouble. then I think you're a spineless piece of shit. And I think any reasonable person would come away with the exact same impression. That if you're publicly
this is
saying one thing and the
is
same people
okay.
saying another, you're a spineless piece of shit.
Do you ever argue from optics?
I think there's a big difference between optics and lying. I don't think it's good optics to
you
lie.
would just create an imaginary group of people who agree with your point, right?
What are you talking about?
You just said you think most reasonable people would agree with your take.
I think most reasonable people would do that. I don't think most reasonable people are imaginary.
Okay, you're imagining a group of people who would agree with your point because I think to everyone else, like, we don't know that.
You don't know that. Yeah, most reasonable people would agree with this because it's pretty fucking transparent.
Well, that's a pretty strong belief that you have. That gives me even less reason to believe that fact.
What's the counter argument? Silence
I'm
is the
just
counter
saying.
argument?
No.
Anything else?
The argument is that I don't think that you're speaking to a popular opinion the way that you're trying to make it seem like you are.
Most people don't think if you're a fucking political activist who runs a super PAC who ran a congressional campaign, that if you're saying, I didn't speak out on this issue because of the fact that I didn't want the backlash, that you're a piece of shit? You don't think most people have an issue with that?
I think she's doing good optics.
You people are so disconnected. Log off.
I think optics. I think when you have a super PAC, that's when optics matter more than anything.
You think when you have a super PAC, optics matter more? I agree. Optics do matter more. And lying is bad optics.
Optics and optic considerations, right?
What do you think a lie is? Ninetales.
It's not being silent on an issue. That's for goddamn
What is a lie?
It's not being silent on an issue. That's
Answer
for
the
goddamn
question,
sure.
you weasel. I know you don't think this is a lie.
No,
what is a lie?
I'm calling out what you're doing, which is making it out to be being silent on something, which is not what a lie is.
I know you disagree with me, Ninetales. What do you think a lie? What do you think a lie is?
See, I don't think. I'm actually of the opinion that no one needs to engage. Like you're using a rhetoric tactic right now. I don't
a rhetoric tactic of asking what a lie is.
I don't think that people need to.
You know what publicly are saying BLM. If you're publicly saying BLM is okay, there are no riots, there's nothing wrong with what they're doing, and then privately saying you're fucking silent, that's a lie.
You were getting a response.
One at a time.
I just want to point out, Synth knows what a lie is. Synth knows I know what a lie is. This is
I don't.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
Answer the question then. Make it nice and clear for me. What is a lie?
Kind of seems like stupid semantics to me.
It's not semantics to ask you what the fuck you mean. Semantics would be like, that's not the real definition, like you did.
To turn it into a qualifier for the conversation is still a rhetoric.
I'm asking for one clear fucking answer to a question.
Answer it for us and prove you have a definition.
You're gonna have to wipe your tears because you won't get it.
I think that actively choosing to promote false beliefs is lying. I think lying by omission is still lying. I think most people agree lying by omission is a kind of lying. Hence why it's called lying by omission and not saying everything by omission.
But you also know that every politician out there chooses their views based on optics. So this is nothing new, and you're freaking out over literally a nothing burger.
This is just a pivot. Now you're saying, oh, well, all the other politicians also lie.
No, this is just autism on your part. Like I'm
autism on my part to have an issue with politicians lying.
You're curious.
Yes, because you're hyper-focused on a
Down
small
syndrome.
element.
Don't tell other people they're autistic. I'm not using hyperfixation to understand the topic. You're just stupid.
You're using hyperfixation. Focus on one specific issue when you yourself acknowledge she's a political figure who is going to factor in optics into everything she fucking does. So you are focused on one specific element of this whole issue.
There's a wildly different issue between I'm factoring in optics and I'm misrepresenting my views because of optics.
No,
so because she's a political figure, there's optic considerations that she makes that we all understand.
It's bad optics to lie. I don't think you retards get this. You don't have good optics when you're constantly fucking lying.
Cynthia, hold on. I'm gonna say something.
Wait, calm down. Agnostic just joined. All right. What do you have to say?
Are you really going to be claiming that Brianna Wu, of all people, is the one who needs to be checked for lying about pretty much anything?
True.
Anything.
Let's explain who this individual is. This is Origin, who paid $20 to be humiliated by Sunday on screen.
We're not talking about me right now, okay? Chill.
Wait, I thought he was being so. Oh no, you're serious?
Who is this person? Who is this person? Who is this person? Who is this person?
This is Origin of Language. Or Logos. I think he's changed his channel.
You're not saying anything about stuff that's not
so
relevant to this discussion.
He paid Sunday $20.
This is not relevant to the discussion, Delatus.
And he turned around and got a hate boner for
You're talking over each other. Stop, please.
Let me
Look,
actually say
Gnostic,
what
you
I
had a
need to
question.
say.
You had a question for me. Your question was something about Brianna Wu lying, right? Am I actually going to say Brianna Wu's the one to lie? Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah. Yeah, you can say that Brianna Wu, like, sure, she probably lies. We all lie, of course. But
Constantly.
sure, but here's the
Her
thing.
career's built
If you're
off of
going
it.
to talk about somebody who is like the king of lying, the king of doing whatever he can to break boundaries, to backstab people, to try to have good connections with certain people, only then to be a little snake and to go into people's servers
This is
and to
also
screenshot
loaded.
everything and doesn't
Yeah,
have
when are you
any sort of
pitching off,
code of
pitching off this
honor
turd of a
for
sentence, Gnostic?
anybody.
So I can answer
Sorry?
your question. Are you done? Can I answer your question? Or
No,
you keep
I'm
rambling?
not done yet because
Let me know when you're done.
I think it's hilarious that you are going to be attacking Brianna Wu of all people
You already said this.
instead of the one person who has constantly gone after people with little to no evidence, who frames things in the most dishonest, backstabbing shit. And yet, the one person, the one target that we really need to focus on is Brianna Wu of all people. Oh my God, Brianna Wu!
How
and not
many
President
lies can you
Sunday,
name
a
that?
guy
Listen.
who is
Oh my God, he
constantly
keeps
burning
going.
bridges.
Wait, calm
Are you
down,
normally
calm
like
down,
this?
Calm down.
Yes,
Calm down.
he's
Let's
basically
try
an
to
idiot.
listen, guys. Let's try to make this productive. Let's do this
Can I
one
answer the
point
question,
at a
Fruiter, after
time,
Gnostic
okay?
asked?
So that we can just look. Let's make this productive, and everybody is human beings here, okay? All right. So unless we
Arguable.
see each other as animals, all right. Let's try to have a productive conversation. Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Stardust says bring her in.
Look, I want to go
Okay.
through all of the fucking. I want to go through the long history of fucking examples, and we can see if you think it's the case that President Sunday is the king of lying, and Brianna Wu isn't the fucking queen of it. So she lied about her fucking double major. She lied about being a cybersecurity expert. And fucking campaign advertisements. She lied about homelessness during her fucking campaign. She rose to fame during Gamergate by lying about being harassed by them when nobody knew who the fuck she was. She lied about Total Biscuit being a transphobe, about him being a sexist, about him being a racist. She lied about the fact that like his fucking entire legacy is toxic gamers who harassed her. Like, do you want to keep going, Gnostic?
I'm not
wait
going
a
to say
minute.
I
Are
know
you
all of
saying
that is
she
to be
lied
true.
about her harassment?
I'm not
Are you
going to
saying
say
she
all
lied
of
about
that
her
is.
When she
harassment?
initially said that Gamergate harassed her, nobody knew who the fuck she was. She lied about it.
I'm pretty sure she posted some videos about Gamergate before anyone knew her and posted some, like, an expose, but she didn't say anyone harassed her
No,
until
she
after
didn't.
she was harassed. Yeah, she did.
Well, let me ask you this then, Sid.
No, she didn't.
Even
Well,
if all of
hold on.
this-
When was the date in which she was Ninetales? When was the date in which she was harassed?
Okay, I have to look
First
this up
harassment.
because I'm bad with dates.
Do you have an approx? Do you know the year?
Hang on, wait. I have some receipts here that might be
Holy
useful. Okay.
Do you know the year, Ninetales? You don't know
Calm
the
down,
year.
Sid, can I
We'll
ask
clean
you
it
a
up, Roy.
follow-up
Don't make
question
any
real quick?
This
mistakes.
is so non-serious. So go ahead, you go. Sorry,
Calm
I'm joking.
down.
Yeah, I'm super not calm right now. You're super chill.
Can
You
I
are
ask you
kind
a
of
follow-up question,
spurging.
Sid?
Spurging? Really? Neva, the entire conversation you've had
I'm
fucking
pretty sure
meltdowns. You couldn't
that.
address arguments. You're not
Okay,
looking
so
good
I'm
here.
pretty sure that your behavior is more conducive to anger than mine is, but that's okay.
I'm pretty sure actually you're
Synth.
the angry one, and I'm super calm
I,
right now.
I
Really,
think
that's
that
the
just
best argument you got?
reflects that you have like no emotional intelligence, right? You just can't identify emotions, and I think we sussed that out earlier
True.
in the
And you are
conversation.
super emotionally intelligent, and you're definitely winning on the optics right now. Anything else, Neva?
Synth,
No,
may I
just keep
ask you?
screaming over people and defending
Neva,
the
why are you
removal of
talking
an
right now? Let the
effective
other person
member.
talk. They're making actual arguments.
You're defending the removal of somebody who's actually effective because you don't
What has she
like
done
their
that's
track
effective?
record.
What has she done that's effective, Neva?
I think that sorry, my name is Neve, by the way. I don't know why you can't read.
Because your name looks the exact same as Neva. I'm sorry.
Well,
Neva,
I mean,
Neve, answer the question.
so you didn't know the name,
Hey.
you didn't know how to say it, and I'm telling you that now. So
Can you even read? Not being rude or insulting you. I'm just
I
telling you.
posted in
well, I
the
think it's
Discord.
a fair.
I posted
You
in
are
the
right.
Discord.
You're calling
question.
other people
Let's be
autistic and
civil.
calling
I think it's
you
a
not
fair
like
question.
insulting.
I
Let's
think
be
it's a
civil.
fair question.
Points only.
I
Hey,
think
I
it's a fair
posted some
question.
I posted
Really?
some evidence in
Literally
the Discord here
Okay.
that's
Either your
directly
response,
relevant.
everything your response is trying to like mock someone or laugh at your own joke. Do you have any?
Everything
do you
that
do
you
anything
said
else?
you haven't made
Do
any
you do
argument.
anything else?
When you
Do you
start
do
making
anything
arguments,
else?
I start mocking
Do
you.
you do
Yeah.
anything else? Sorry.
Yeah, I
do you
made
do anything
arguments,
else?
Doesn't even
dummy.
Okay, so
understand
you
the
She's
timeline.
broken. Oh my
people?
god, she's looping.
Synth doesn't even understand the timeline beyond root. The first
May
thing she
I
did
ask
was
you
make
a
a
follow-up
passing
You'd be
joke
looping.
about
You'd be looping
Gamergate.
with me
The
because
first
the
thing
only
she
response
did
you
was
have
make
to
a
anything is to
passing
mock
joke about
someone.
Gamergate. The first thing Brianna did was make a passing joke about Gamergate, and this was September 19th of 2015 or 14, and she got harassed for that. So get your fucking back straight.
Well, no,
You
hey,
didn't get
hey,
harassed for that. Nobody knew who the fuck she was.
I posted
can't say
evidence.
she
I
didn't.
posted evidence in
Look.
the Discord. Look, nobody in Gamergate. Sorry, the vast majority of people in Gamer, I should say, did not support harassing Brianna
That's
Wu.
not proof she
Look
didn't
at
get
this.
harassed, Tachyon. No one.
That
I'm
means
not
it
saying
wasn't
that nobody
covered
on the
being
internet-
harassed her
I'm not saying that-
astronomically low. She got harassed later on, down the line. Once people knew who the fuck she was.
A shit ton of people, and it's only because of a sampling bias, and they didn't get a big enough sample.
Because
that
of
they're
a sampling
0.66.
bias, really?
Not because they literally sampled everything.
What's the issue
Wait,
with
what
the
are you even
sampling?
talking about? Are you talking
What
about the
the
Women Action
hell are
Media
you
study, or are you
talking
talking about the
That the sample was
Brandwatch?
too selective to particular groups that weren't totally representative.
I'm not even
of
talking
They
about the
certain-
Women Action Media study. We can talk about that study if you want to, but I'm not talking about that study in this case.
The
I'm talking
only way
about
you
the
get that
specific claim
0.66%
about whether or not
result
let's make
is by
specific
narrowing
claims,
your
Nine Tails,
sample.
because you never want to make specific claims. You always want to
We
make
read the
vague.
methodology
Well,
section.
this community is
Read the
evil,
methodology
hateful,
section.
misogynist. You always want to say
I
these
can
big
do it
claims.
for you.
Let's make specific accusations, okay?
Yeah.
Brianna Wu,
The
Gamergate
methodology.
supported harassing Brianna Wu. Huh? Does that seem to be true? Well, let's see. We have studies that showed it's not true. Let's also look at. You don't like the studies?
No,
okay.
we don't have
well, let's
studies
look
that show
at.
that
Let's
it
look
isn't
at.
true.
Let's
You
look at
haven't
this.
debunked
What
it at
about?
all.
What about when Pteradax, a third-party troll, did harass Brianna Wu? How did Gamergate respond? I posted evidence of this here. Look at this. All these people on Twitter were all saying, mass report this, everybody. All these people, hashtag Gamergate, get this out
And
of here.
despite that,
And then, look at this. Oh, everyone on Reddit, too, was saying, absolutely, this
And
person.
despite that, there is still evidence that the harassment outweighed these actions. I can find something that says that if
Hey,
you like.
Ninetales.
Give us studies. One study, Nine
I
Tails.
will.
What study are you
Ninetales.
thinking about?
The
There isn't one. You made it up.
Tachyon 0.66 study.
Have you considered? You think
Hey,
you read that study? You
Ninetales,
think
can I
that
ask you
proves
a
your
question?
point? You go ahead, Gnostic.
Look, I'm looking at the thing you asked
Okay.
me to.
Well, I actually just wanted to ask Cynthia a follow-up question after he gave me all of this list of things that Brianna Wu must have done. I'm not going to say I know
Must
for
have?
a fact that she's done all of this. Look,
We do.
I don't know all the information, so maybe it's true, but for the sake of argument, let's say all of it is true. Who do you think is in a better position to
Oh,
expose
it's
this?
October.
A journalist, like an actual accredited journalist out in the real world, or President fucking Sunday?
I don't think the president
guy
is in a good position
who-
to do exposés. Who cares?
Wait, what?
I don't care.
President Sunday's a fucking clown, and if anybody takes him seriously, I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, that is my favorite lolcow. President Sunday is my favorite lolcow. I only watch him to laugh. I really only watch him to laugh. And you guys, if you're watching him for news, I don't know. You guys, I don't know what to say. Good luck.
That's
you
just bad
know?
taste in
So,
lolcows. Like Brianna's a better lolcow. She's got like a
She's
funnier
not.
history.
She's
She's
not
so much
even
better.
a lolcow.
Oh come
so-
on, the fucking Steam
Yes,
greenlighting
he is.
page. That's so funny.
She explained it in an interview with me.
I've seen her explanation. No, guys, don't worry. I was
What was her
honeypotting
explanation
them.
anyway, Stardust?
That
Because
it was 4D chat.
No,
Yes,
it
she
wasn't
wanted to-
40 Yes, it was.
She wanted
it was
to,
Homie, it was specifically that her page was already getting flooded with people like who hated her.
wait,
and
that's
so
not
she
true
thought-
though. Wait, let's go to the
Let me
logs.
finish what I'm saying,
sorry,
motherfucker.
sorry.
Did
Hey.
I finish fucking saying what I was saying? No, I didn't. Shut the
Here
fuck
comes
up.
the
you
ramble.
fucking
Go ahead,
idiot.
Stardust. Just spit it out.
All right. Okay, so what I was saying is that basically she said that she was already getting a whole bunch of hate comments on her page, on her Steam page. So she tried to like kind of make a quarantine or whatever by like making a thing so that everybody would just go into that one thread and spam all their hate there instead of like all over her page. So yeah.
Yeah, because
Okay.
that's how
makes
the internet
no
works.
sense.
So I
That's
do
like
want
the
to
most
say.
hilarious possible excuse. It was secretly to make sure that if I made one more thread,
wasn't
they
a
would all go to
secret.
this one. Because there were
Hang
too
on.
many
It wasn't a
people making threads. So if I make one
No,
more
it
thread,
wasn't a
there will be
secret.
less
It wasn't a
threads.
What a
secret.
fucking joke.
Hang on. So Stardust,
It
I
wasn't
am
what?
sorry that I spoke
It
over
wasn't
you,
a secret.
What
but
wasn't
I
a
do.
secret?
I'm gonna post
Like,
the log
you're talking-
here.
Oh, you said you completely
archive.
strawmanned like the explanation that I gave.
I didn't straw man the explanation. I
Yeah,
made fun
you
of it.
did.
The explanation you gave was that if you make this one thread, all of the people will go into that thread instead of all of the other ones. But for some reason, I made this thread and then deleted it instantly afterwards.
Okay.
For some reason.
Well,
hang on.
because she realized it wasn't working. Like, I mean, what else do you want me
No.
to say? You
Of
know?
course it wasn't working. Nobody thought it would work. She didn't think it would work
So-
to quarantine
No,
people.
neither of you
Like,
know
it's
what the
a
fuck you're
typical-
talking
exactly
about,
what she
dude.
was doing.
What the hell?
It's a
I
It is
hilarious
a typical
excuse.
boomer shit thing to do, okay? Holy shit.
She's a
I've
boomer
done
who's like owns
more
a game
boomer
development
shit.
studio. Really?
Done
It was
more
a boomer thing. She left her
shit.
account logged
Well,
in.
hang on,
Wait,
Done
guys.
animation
not
studio.
your-
And one
This
at a
is
time,
so
one at a
funny.
time. One at a time, please. Thank you
No, we're
so
not
much.
doing one at a time. Do you want content or not? Jesus Christ. Okay? This guy, Tack. Okay, you shut up. Did I tell you could speak, Tack? Did
I give TAC permission to speak.
What?
Tack,
I
you
will
do-
defend TAC.
Fuck you, Tack. You do not have permission to speak. Synth,
Go ahead, Tack.
you-
Well, hang on. Wait,
Sid,
no, hang on.
Sid,
What the fuck is
Sid,
this?
You
Why are you
literally
being so
say
hostile
the
to me? Look.
stupidest shit that I have ever heard in my life. Synth,
Here comes the
everything you
ramble.
fucking-
Spit out the
every
arguments, Stardust.
time you
Here comes
fucking
Stardust
speak,
with the argument.
Every time you fucking speak, I swear
No
I
argument,
have brain
just
fluid
ramble.
that leaks out of my ears. Okay, I have to wipe it up at night.
You don't
My-
have any
my
brain fluid
face-
to leak out of your
Oh
ears,
my
Stardust.
fucking God,
That
what's
sounds like a
wrong
came
with
to
condition
the
for
stream
which
with
you
no
should seek
argument.
medical care.
Hey, Synth, can you stop with the double standard shit? It's really stupid.
What double
Come on, dude.
standard? What double standard?
Like, you're telling people, like, stop screeching and all this, but that's all you've been doing, dude.
Do you think I told people
come
to
on.
stop screeching? I just want arguments. I don't give a fuck if you're loud when you argue.
Have you
retard.
given an argument? I haven't
Yes.
heard one.
Yes. I've given you several. Want me to repeat them?
Try it.
There's not.
You
there's
made
not a
the
chance
argument that I
Origin
can't call
understands what
Brianna
an
Wu a
argument
liar
is.
because President Sunday lies more often. I just
Because
told you,
President
instead of
Sunday
pointing
is
out the
the
fucking fallacy, I just
definition of
pointed
a
out
liar.
it doesn't matter.
President
It
Sunday's
doesn't matter. It
accused
doesn't
two
matter. It's
women of
tangential.
fraud now.
I gave the
Two
argument
women
that
of
look at all of
fraud.
these fucking examples. Clearly,
He's
Brianna Wu is a chronic
accused
fucking liar.
NSC of
Clearly, any
fraud.
standard by which President
He's
Sunday
accused
lies too often
Brianna
is when the
Wu
Brianna
fraud.
Wu fits too. Her entire career is based on a fucking lie that she told. She
It's
made up
not.
fake
She's
harassment. Nobody knew who the fuck
legit.
she was.
She made a game, did she not? Did she
No.
not make a game?
She did make a
No.
game, actually. Yes, she did.
During
She
the
made
point,
60.
Revolution 60 wasn't out when she had her career. Her fucking career came from Gamergate, from Gamergate, grabbing their
Do you
fucking
think
attention
Gamergate was a
by
good experience
pretending.
for her? You think
I
she
don't
got
think-
a career out of that?
She intentionally provoked Gamergate into fucking following her. That's her entire goal.
From what I could tell, it was a
You can't
complete
tell anything,
mistake.
Stardust.
And then, yeah, I can, bro. And
No, you
can eat
can't,
my
bro.
entire fucking ass, bro. Okay, let me
That's
finish
too
what I
much
was
to
saying
eat.
Before.
Too many
When
fucking
you-
calories, Stardust.
Well, you guys are just being bad faith.
I
Let's
did.
let's
I will
let's
eat,
let's
I will
examine.
get more shit in my
let's
fucking
examine-
mouth than you ever could. Okay,
I
wish
bet you could
swallowed
fit
the
more
amount
shit in your
of
mouth.
shit.
I bet you could.
I bet
guys,
you
let's-
wish you could swallow the amount of dicks I can in my mouth. Okay, I can suck way more dick
Let's-
than you fucking
You
asshole.
wanna bring
That's
up a-
true.
Okay, so I just want to point out, I
Tack,
posted
I
something
don't
in
need to
trade
hear
stream
from
chat.
you.
Stardust, yeah, we get it. You're tough. I posted something in trade stream
I like
chat
Stardust more than
Aren't
Ninetales.
you a
about
fucking
the
Nazi?
Brianna Wu
Like,
stuff.
shut the fuck up. You have
Yeah,
no
Ninetales,
right
you're
to
literally
say
a
So-
fucking
Stream
fascist.
chat
But look,
about the Brianna Wu stuff.
I know that your
Oh my
alt
God.
account is named
I
Adolf
know Ninetales has
Ninetales.
said some real sus
Oh
shit
my
about
God, I
black
posted
people.
stuff in
I know
trade
for a
stream
fact
chat.
that Ninetales has said some real sus shit about black
What she said.
Aw, Stardust, you've just been hurt by me, and it's okay. I feel bad for you
Oh,
too.
have I
Now
been
we're
hurt
at the
by you, or
content.
do I
Stardust, what
think
did
you're
she
well,
a
say?
hang on,
dick
guys.
like
If we're gonna make
President
Whoa,
specific
Trump?
What did
claims,
Ninetales say? What did Ninetales? Because Ninetales is one of my orbiters. What did she say?
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, what
got
did you
receipts?
say?
No, you got receipts. You're the one making the accusation.
mean,
Burden of proof,
yeah,
bitch.
Yeah, we're gonna have
I'm
to see some
pretty sure
evidence.
You know what it is. You know what it is.
Wait, Stardust,
You're
we're gonna have to
talking
see
about
some
now.
evidence. The burden of proof is on
She's
you.
just
What
beg
the
post.
fuck?
She's just gesturing.
Stardust!
She's just gesturing.
Stardust!
So-
Stardust!
hang on,
Wait,
hang on,
what?
guys. If we're
Why are
gonna,
people cheering for me?
guys, can we talk
Yeah, I'm
about
cheering for you.
specific?
Yeah, execute Ninetales.
So Stardust, you said that a bunch of people were posting topics on her forums that were harassing her. But if you look at, I posted.
No, I didn't say harassing, but yeah, they were posting like messages that were like hate and stuff.
But if you look, there are only 2 other posts on her forum when she made the post. I posted the archive in the Discord
yeah,
chat.
no, I showed her the screenshot, and she said that she made that one forum thingy, that one topic, so she could try and quarantine it, so at least like all the hate would go into one place. But you know,
Anything about that strike you was like maybe not true?
no, it's
More
something
so.
that I would do.
Well, do you think
Stardust
that,
is the most
When
do you
gullible
look?
person
Do you
of
want
all
to talk
time.
about? Look. Obviously, look. Some people did harass Brianna Wu, and that's obviously awful. No one supports that in any way, shape, or form. But you said Gamer wasn't a good experience for her. She was making
Yo,
$13,000
food
a
chops,
month
get the
in
guy in the lobby
donations.
in here.
Right? Look, she was making $13,000
Yeah, but
a
she
month
wasn't
in
like
donations.
she had to get get like 5 years of therapy for it.
I mean, maybe she did. I don't know, but I don't know about
Yeah,
her
she
personal life. I
did.
don't care about her personal life.
She's
but-
very
She was
open about
literally
it.
diagnosed
President
with
fucking
PTSD.
Sunday, the accuser
was
of
diagnosed
women.
All right,
with
wait, hold on.
fucking
If you guys are
PTSD.
gonna be
Accuser of women, slayer of wenches.
one at a time, one at a time.
so
We're
that-
gonna have to do
You're
one.
welcome.
And accused Brianna Wu of
Wait,
fraud.
seriously,
Okay, I
seriously,
reclaim
can
my
we do one
time.
at a time,
I
please?
reclaim
One
my
at a
time.
time.
I reclaim
Sir,
my
I will
time.
mute you.
I
Sir, I
reclaim my
will mute
time.
you.
Males first, okay?
All right, Sunday, please just go first. Okay, just.
I was waiting. I guess that's Daedalus. Floor is yours.
Oh no, go ahead, Sunday. I've
I've
been
got
enjoying
nothing to say.
myself.
I just heard there was a hullabaloo and I thought I'd drop it.
I
No,
thought you could. I thought you were trying to avoid the public eye. What happened?
Nah, nobody watches.
You heard that
It's
I
all
can
good.
suck so
That
many
was a
dicks.
joke.
He
I like
want-
you, Rachel.
He
What
he
the
said
fuck?
he heard that I could suck a lot.
I like
of
you.
dicks,
No,
and
I'm
he
sorry.
wanted
It's the
to
joke.
challenge
It's the
me.
joke.
He
Anyways,
wanted
I just want to
challenge
point
me on
out,
sucking
Tachyon has
dicks.
to be fucking delusional to not realize she got
Sorry,
diagnosed
I'm
with
challenging.
PTSD
Who am I
after the
challenging on
gamer
sucking
stuff.
dicks?
Well,
What?
look, maybe she did. I don't know, dude. I don't know about her personal life. I don't care about her
Yeah, of
personal
course
life.
you
I
don't
care
know,
about
'cause you
specific
don't
claims
actually
that you
know
want to
the
make.
timeline of the. You don't know anything about the victims. You only know about your side and how to do damage control.
I don't think that the people that I
I
associate
don't think
with
he's doing damage
did not
control.
engage with.
I think
I know 100% he's doing damage control. I've debated him.
he's not. He just
So are
is
we
not aware of
still
Brianna.
talking
Okay,
somebody-
well, I'm
we
media
draw the
literate.
line?
I'm like you, Stardust. So
Okay,
fuck off.
Ninetails, you can shut the fuck up.
Do you know what
Again,
media
I
literacy
remember
is?
you
Do you
said
know what
some
media
real
literacy
fucking
is?
sus shit
You
about.
might
you know what
parse
media
the
literacy
dialogue
is?
What is the
then.
first
Consider
law of
moderator.
media literacy,
Literacy is-
Ninetail?
There is.
All right,
Food
one
shops.
at a
Ninetails,
time.
I have seen you
She
say
doesn't
Food
know
stuff
what
shops.
media
One at a
literacy
I have a quick-
is.
You do
question.
not have
She
Wait,
doesn't know.
wait, wait, wait. Hold on, Stardust, please, Stardust. When you go on these rambles, like I can barely hear you because of like the overlapping voices and the Discord is like disabling the voices, like just because of how the Discord technical function works. Anyway, Sunday, what is the question?
Yeah, can somebody sort of orient me as to where we are?
So
I was
where we
literally
are is that I
sucking
have
so
no
many
idea.
dicks,
We are
and
discussing
clearly
where
you
we
came
draw
in to
the
challenge
We're at the
me
point
in
where-
sucking
What about
dick.
dicks?
Tachyon is
Okay,
trying
okay.
to do damage control for
I
Gamergate
literally have
and
not
saying that
seen
no
any of this in
harassment
No, no,
Telegram.
happened.
there's
Sunday, why don't we talk about you doxing
Hold
earlier
on,
on Twitter?
stop. Oh my god. Wait. When I am talking,
Put our
can
docs on
nobody else
Twitter.
talk?
What?
Wait, when I am talking,
Ooh.
nobody else talks, or I will crush your ball sacks until it's a raisin. Okay, hold on. Okay, so hold on. How about this? Okay, all right. There are two different conversations going on right now. Can we just stop with the Gamergate shit? Nobody gives a fuck about Gamergate. Okay, all right.
I like
okay,
Gamergate.
second of all, okay,
Sure.
all right.
I like the Gamergate shit, not Gamergate. Gamergate bad, but the Gamergate event is.
Okay, the Gamergate. Okay, whatever. So the second thing, all right. Second thing is that
That was a trouble.
Stardust is
Goddamn.
accusing President Sunday of being a liar. Now what specifically
what?
is a lie? What is
Oh
a
no,
lie?
Oh,
I
liar.
can say, look here. President Sunday is accused not so erudite of being a fraud in
Yeah.
a very, very serious manner.
Yep.
And now President Sunday is accusing
Yes, she
Brianna
is.
Wu of being a fraud.
Oh yeah. By the
so
way, in
I'm
the
just
same
saying-
way,
I am
oddly
just-
enough,
I
that's
am
Kyla as well.
just-
It's funny.
I am just outlining there's a pattern of behavior here. Also, let's not forget that President Sunday aired out all of her not so erudite shit, all of her personal information in one place, collected,
Not all. What?
aggregated her
No, I didn't.
personal info, and fucking doxed her.
No, I didn't. I have
Yeah, you
access.
did.
I had access.
Yeah,
I had
you
access.
did. Yeah,
I had
you did.
access.
You compiled it in one
I
area,
had
and that
access.
is considered doxing. That is considered doxing.
Well, no, because I literally only used information that she had already compiled in social media
I'm
under
pretty
both
sure you
names
went,
simultaneously.
No, you went and you emailed somebody from her school, bro.
I didn't
you
get any
not-
information from her school.
We all
I didn't.
saw that. We all saw
I
the
didn't ask
fucking
about her
email.
though. But I didn't Stardust. I
But
didn't ask
you
about her when I
still-
called the
you
school.
No, you reached out to her school. We were
Yeah, I
knew by
emailed.
your video that
Yeah.
it was
So,
her
are you
school.
going to allow me to
We
speak?
know where.
Wait,
no,
Are you going to
kind of
allow me
back
to
and forth
speak,
one at a
Stardust?
time right now.
Let me finish what I'm saying.
Stardust, but you've been talking the entire time. So
Yes.
yeah. So when I messaged the school, I was inquiring as to whether or not the degree or the
you?
certificate or the credential, in other words,
Did you or did you not in
that
that video
Kyla.
indicate that
I'm
that
not.
was her
I'm not
school?
finished. I'm not finished.
Wait, how about this?
Of
Let's
course,
have
it's her
Sunday-
school. She's
let's have
she
Sunday
said on
finish
she said
first
on like
and
Fresh
then-
and Fit
and then
which
you can go.
she said which school
Yes.
she goes to.
You
She said her
compiled
program.
information.
This is
did
no.
you or did you not compile her information then?
I'm sorry.
No.
What? I'm
Did
not.
you or did
I'm gonna.
you
I'm
not
gonna.
compile her information?
I'm going to try.
Wait, let Sunday
I'm going to
finish
try to
first.
finish
Let
a
Sunday
sentence.
finish first, and
Because-
then you can go.
Because I understand that like the soft approach with Richard Spencer didn't really work out so well for you. But in this case, it actually kind of helps if I'm able to respond to what you say. So
I'm glad that you're okay. I'm glad that you brought.
I'm
that
glad.
Up.
I'm glad that of the
It's
two of
real,
us,
it's a real,
I'm glad
really
that of the
good
two
one,
of us,
really good one.
All
I'm
right,
glad that of the
points
two
only.
of us,
Points
you're the
only.
one
Let's focus
who's
on the points only, so we
famous
can
for.
actually move forward in this very calm chit chat. Okay, so point first. Let's do it. Yes.
Point.
Yes.
Who's going first?
Sunday, you go first, and then Stardust will
Okay, on my
calmly
screen you're
make
pointing
her
at Stardust, so I was confused.
Alright.
Yeah, so Natsu Erudite made specific claims about her qualifications. So I asked the university, hey, given these qualifications, I didn't say any names, would I be entitled to say that I am of the profession of X, Y, or Z? And they answered, I'm perfectly within my rights to do so. In fact, the fact that she's giving qualifications is an invitation to check that out, because that's the purpose of qualifications. That's what they're for. They tell people that, hey, if you back check me, I have training and I have approval to call myself X, Y, and Z and to perform X, Y, and Z tasks. It's very simple.
Sunday,
You
if
could
I
do the same thing
may
to me.
add to that,
Wait.
if I may add to that real quick,
Oh.
because you didn't just do that, Sunday. What you did was actually very dishonest. You didn't
Go
say,
on.
you didn't email her saying like, what would I need to do in order to be considered a psychometrist or something like that? You didn't say that. Instead, what you said was, hey, I have
Could
this
I-
certain
could I-
thing.
could I call
Does that mean
myself-
I can be a psychometrist?
Well, Origin.
How is that dishonest?
Well, hang on one sec. There's
Because it would be honest.
No. Jesus Christ, people. It's the same question. So if I say, can I do this? The reply is going to be, no, you can't, because you would need X, Y, and Z to do this. And that's the answer I received.
No, you
That's
framed
not-
it
that's not
in such a
dishonest.
way. What you should have said
But they're
was,
the same.
what
The
do I
answer
need
is
to
the same,
earn?
Origin.
No, it's
the
how
import
do you
of the
know
question
that?
is
No, it's
identical.
not.
How do you know
No,
that,
it's
Sunday?
not.
Did you test it?
Yes, the question was, can I
So,
call
did
myself...
you send both emails?
Can I call myself... Yes. Can I call myself this title if I have this certificate? And if the answer is no, then I know the answer to the other question. What do I need? More than this title. They're functionally the same. I'm not trying to become those things. I just wanted to know, am I one given these credentials? That's a perfectly
That's
reasonable
not
thing.
really what you
No,
did,
but
but
that's-
anyway,
that's
also
That's
not
it's
exactly
really
what I
what
did.
yeah.
Your
Your
it's in the
initial
letter.
Also,
Okay,
initial
wait, now, no,
curriculum.
wait, hold on, one at a time, stop. Now I want to hear from Stardust. I want to hear from Stardust why this is not exactly what Sunday did. And I only want to hear from Stardust. If I hear from anybody else, I will be booting you. I'll be scrunching up your testicles. Okay, Stardust, go.
I have no testicles to scrunch. I'm here to make content.
Okay.
But let me address a couple of things here. President Sunday is the most pathetic piece of shit I have ever seen in my
Okay,
life.
points only, please.
But
no,
wait. Even
I
more
am
than
here to
you had
make-
Richard
I'm-
Spencer on stream. Are you sure?
Y-
That's
yes,
pretty bad. I'm
I
worse
am
than Richard
sure.
Spencer,
You-
huh?
Yes, you are.
Really?
You are, because
Huh.
at least that dude is fucking honest about what he believes. If he's anti-Semitic,
Really?
he will be honest about it. Okay?
I'm
You
not going to
you
say
are a
that.
piece
Oh
of
my
shit
God.
who will lie about other people and ruin their fucking careers. You got somebody fired. You got this random let's see here, academic agent person fired because
I didn't get him
they
fired.
happen. Yeah, you did. You did.
No, I didn't. No,
Yeah,
he
you
got
did.
him. He got him.
You
No,
did.
actually, he wasn't even
You-
fired.
Do you have
No, you don't know the details.
You,
Can I
you
reply to
got
this?
fired.
Food Shops, can I
Secondly-
reply to this?
No, let me finish what I'm
Can't
saying.
get
I'm actually
fired if you
asking
don't
the
have the
moderator, not
credentials.
you. Food Shops, can I
Secondly-
reply to this? You have a mute button, yes? Presumably you can mute just the people
yeah.
talking and then put us in order.
Yes, but I let my voice do the muting. Okay, so wait, is there?
But
is
I'd like
there-
to reply, respectfully, I'd like to reply to that point in particular first, then I'll let you move on.
Okay,
Stardust.
first,
Very
go
quickly,
first.
though.
Go first, real quick. Okay.
Me?
Yes.
All right. The academic agent wasn't fired. He was laid off. And one of the things that went into factoring into whether or not he was laid off was that he was threatening students with lawsuits because they caught him on Twitter talking about giving socialists helicopter rights a la Pinochet, which, when you have a bunch of socialists in the school, is essentially advocating for physical harm for your students. He was never fired. When I saw on Twitter that he was battling with those students and he was rendering legal threats at them, I went on and I confirmed, yeah, this guy was doing that. That's it. I didn't dox him.
Why did you?
The only reason why I knew who he was, the only reason
Why
why,
did you tag his university?
because he was
And-
threatening students and I was providing
This
confirmation.
Nima
No, the
Parvini
only
person?
Nima Parvini, yes. No, the only reason why I know that name, why do I know that name? Well, I know that name because he
Why-
revealed his name. He
Why
revealed
did
it publicly.
You tag the university.
Because he was-
and mention this
because he
academic
was-
agent person.
because he was threatening
if they were
students,
already threatening
Stardust.
students, if they were already threatening students, then you could have
No,
just
he
linked to that
was.
instead of
He-
talking.
I
Excuse me. Let
did.
me. What I'm
I
saying
did.
is, if you already saw people, this guy's threatening students, you wouldn't need to say this person runs multiple alt-right Discord servers and personally promotes racial segregation.
He does.
You would just link where he's threatening students.
Am I not
Wouldn't
allowed
you?
to say this?
Are you
Have
afraid
I
of that
broken a law?
information or
Say it,
something?
but
Why
you
would you want
clearly
that?
have a fucking agenda behind it. You want to get this
Yeah.
person fucking fired.
Sunday.
Of course I
Yeah.
do. Of course
Yeah.
I do.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so that's
Sunday.
number one.
Wait,
That's number one.
stop.
Of
Why else
President
would he
Sunday
do
trying to
Okay,
ruin
wait,
somebody's
wait.
life.
Agenda.
Number two of somebody trying to President Sunday trying to ruin somebody's life, questioning NSC's credentials and accusing her.
She
of
lied about her credentials.
fraud of
She lied about her
money.
credentials.
Wait a minute. Let
Okay,
me
she
finish.
lied
about her
Let me
credentials.
finish. Let me
I'm sorry.
finish what I'm saying. You
I don't have to.
accused her of.
She lied about her
you
credentials.
accused- that
She
is
lied about her
He's short
credentials.
circuiting again. He's not going to let you
mute on
finish.
President Sunday. He won't let me finish my point here. Can we?
It's his
Can we get a
tactic.
mute on President Sunday, please? Because I need to finish my point, and he won't let me finish my
Okay,
point.
but
And
after you finish, we have to let Sunday ramble. Okay, we have to let Sunday ramble. Okay.
I need to
So-
finish
Do we?
my points because
Do we?
you've let
Yes,
him interrupt
yes.
me. You've let him interrupt me once already. You have.
I have.
Yes, you have. I was not done with my
Whatever.
point,
Just
okay?
go. I don't care anymore.
That
Just go.
was number one of that. That was number one. You tried to get this academic agent fired. That is one first example of
I
you
thought I
trying
got
to
him
ruin
fired.
somebody's life.
Did I try
Can
to get
we
him
get a
fired?
mute on him? Can we please get a mute on him?
All right. Sunday, I'll just mute you temporarily. Okay. All right, whatever.
Okay.
You should have done that a long
Please
time
be
ago.
silent. So fucked up.
His face.
Look, people appealing to the mod is bad. Look, he was appealing to the mod himself. Okay, I can appeal to the mod too if he's doing it.
Yeah, what's
we'll
your-
play that
wait,
game.
what's your
We'll
answer to
play
the
that
question,
fucking
though?
game. Okay, number one, that is the first example of him trying to fucking ruin somebody's life. Number
I
two
thought he was trying to.
is
I
him
thought he was firing. And he got him
accusing.
fired.
Excuse me.
Wait,
Let me
Sim,
finish.
I'm gonna kick you.
I
kicked
number
him.
two is him trying to accuse not so erudite of using federal funds
I heard.
incorrectly or possibly even like fucking embezzling them, which is fucking wild. That is an accusation of fraud. You are going to ruin somebody's life or get fucking sued, and I hope you do. I hope they sue you up the ass. Number three of you trying to ruin somebody's life is leaking somebody's personal messages where they happen to say some mean shit in it, and trying to ruin their fucking career when they are actually doing real activism. Unlike you and your pathetic ass with your stupid fucking octopus plush on your face, you looking like Jabba the fucking Hutt, okay?
Can Sunday respond now? Okay. All right. Now I'm gonna let Sunday respond now. Sunday, go. Stardust is now muted. Go.
Look, you say what you want to me, but you leave Squiddleton out of this, bitch. I'm sorry. There is a limit. There is a line, and I'm drawing it here. I wasn't really listening to that, except for the last bit. So, Brianna Wu, who is in a quasi-employer relationship with Cenk Uygur of TYT, while she was going publicly about how much of a, how much she cares about the trans community, how much she knows how much non-binary people suffer when they're forced into boxes, etc., etc. She's castigating other people for not being up on trans issues and not being able to talk about or to trans people in non-dehumanizing ways. Went after a admittedly not a very politically savvy, to put it mildly, former employee of the Young Turks, and called her transvestite, presenting, mocking her dress. So, with all due respect, Stardust, and your faux moral outrage, you can stuff it wherever you like.
Hey, Sunday, why
Alright,
can't you
wait,
actually listen to
wait,
criticism?
wait,
Why
are
can't
you-
you
are
actually
you-
sincerely listen?
No, Gnostic, I will kick you. Can you please stop? Stop. Thank you. I'll mute you. All right. Stardust, you may now respond. Thank you.
I have a question for President Sunday. President Sunday, have you ever called somebody you don't like stupid or dumb or implied that they're deaf?
Okay, now I will unmute Sunday and I'll mute Synth.
But did I answer or was I muted?
Now you're unmuted. Go.
Was I muted when I was just talking?
Yeah. Can you go
Okay.
again?
Well, you ruined the whole flow of that.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
It's no point now.
Okay, you know what? Fuck it. I'll just unmute both of you. Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna-
unmute both of us. Okay, President Sunday.
just
My question for you is that have you ever called somebody stupid, called somebody dumb, implied that they may have been be blind or deaf? Have you?
Never. Me?
Oh yeah, you have
Slander.
definitely. You have.
No.
You have. That's like one
You
of
have
your
no proof.
go-to
There's
things.
no evidence. You can't
Okay,
prove anything.
Can we be serious for a moment here? Can we be serious for a moment here? You have a long history
Can
of
we?
accusing people of this shit, and
Can
yes, can we? And if that is the case, President Sunday, that you have a long history of using mentally disabled as a fucking insult for people, why the fuck do you care? Why don't you care about mentally disabled people, President Sunday? Do you even care about them? Do you even care about like them getting treatment, getting healthcare, access to healthcare? What the fuck is wrong with you, you stupid little man?
I'm sorry. Sorry. I'm not supposed to laugh.
Don't blame you.
So I want to point out, Brianna Wu has apologized for what she said.
Yeah, unlike President Sunday here, who loves to use mentally disabled people as his crutch, as his way of insulting other people. Don't you?
When
You
in
do.
particular?
Yeah, plenty of times when he's referred to me, he's insulted me and claimed that I like am a dimwit or something, which is, you know, whether you like it or not,
Bless you
referring
for
to people
proving me
who are
wrong.
mentally disabled, right? He's done it to multiple other people. This is a long history with President Sunday.
It sure is.
It is.
It is. Well, I wasn't expecting the knockdown, yeah, you call people stupid retort, but you got me there, Stardust.
Yeah, well,
Guilty
if you
as
don't, well, if
charged.
you want to go after people, if you want to say, oh, people can't, you can't claim that you care about this thing because you said this mean thing using this word for this people. Well, guess what? You can't claim to care about anybody because you don't care about mentally disabled people.
There's
So
a very
fuck you.
particular there's a very particular reason why Brianna Wu in this particular case saying that particular thing matters. So you'll notice, for instance, I didn't go after Jenny Matrix or Zonya or any of the other people in that chat. I didn't mention them at all, really. Why do you suppose that was? Do you have any particular idea as to why I would not care about those people?
Because
Jenny
Brianna
Matrix,
Wu
by
is
the
more
way,
clouded, and you can get more clout off of shitting on her because you know all the Gamergate bros love to shit on her.
Ooh,
I know you were
sorry.
a fan of Sargon. I know you're a fan of Sargon. I know you were
yeah,
a
in
fan
like
of the Gamergate
2016,
shit
I'm
back
like
in
an
the day.
anarchist now.
Bro, you were pro Gamergate. You were pro Gamergate, and you know that you can get the clout from shitting on Brianna Wu.
Stardust,
you know
you were
can.
having
All right,
Stardust.
come on. Let somebody respond one at a time.
You were having casual conversations with Richard Spencer last year. You were getting eat for
I
it.
was, and guess what?
Yeah.
I wasn't getting clouded off of him.
Well, you're trying.
No, I was
You just said he's a real
person.
If you know anything about me,
It's
you
fair
can
to
accuse
debate.
me of a lot of things.
Stardust.
You
Stardust.
can
There's a very.
accuse me of a lot of things.
The rest of you guys need to be quiet.
Why don't you just mute everyone but me and Stardust for now?
Let me finish what I'm saying here, okay? You can
You weren't
accuse me of
finished.
a lot
You've
of.
been.
No, you said something, and I want to respond to it.
Well, I wasn't actually quite finished. Like
accuse
I was asking rhetorically. The reason why you didn't get.
The reason why you didn't
get.
Trying to get clout off of Richard Spencer would be the most phenomenally fucking stupid thing I could try to do. I am a brown Indian woman.
I agree.
I'm not getting clout off of him. The reason why I'm talking to him is because I'm massively interested. I am incredibly fascinated with the far right and the dissident right. I just like to know what's going on with them.
No, the reason why you didn't get the reason why you didn't get clout off of him is because you have no talent as a host and you're just a deeply unappealing commentator. With
Okay, is that what it is? You're
no the reason
bro,
no the reason
like
why
no
the reason
you're
why
you're fucking Spock from fucking Star Trek, bro.
No, the reason why I was interested in Brianna. Would you let me finish my sentence, please? Could I?
All right, one at a time. Do you guys want to do the mute one at a time thing again, or?
I kind of just want to say something very quickly, just
okay.
This is an explanation because this will take all night otherwise. The reason why I was interested in Brianna Wu there is precisely because, well, she is publicly saying that she stands for all of these people and for their identities and for their advocacy and for their being treated as human beings and not being treated in a dehumanizing manner. In secret, she's not only dehumanizing them in a pretty egregious way, much less former people who are sort of working in her orbit. She's also pretty much directly organizing with people who are opposed to their identities. She's saying things to the effect of, I don't like that. I think we need to move to a more exclusive notion of transsexualism. I don't like that these non-binary people with their weird pronouns have taken over the movement, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not just a matter. It's the equivalent. I posed this question to Wick earlier. It's sort of like, would you be clutching your pearls if a gay rights activist who was trying to get into government or to influence policy was suddenly found in the background in like private conversations or whatever, talking to his friends about how, I don't like how all of these queers have taken over the Democratic Party.
That's not what
between
she was
you
saying,
and me.
though.
Oh, it's basically what she said. She said
she was talking about
the
somebody who
screenshots speak for
harassed-
themselves.
Wait, let Stardust answer.
The
She
screenshots
was
speak for themselves.
She was talking about somebody who had been harassing her. Yes. Was she mean in those screenshots? Yes. Did she use
wasn't
a
just
slur in
mean.
those screenshots?
No.
Excuse me. Let me finish. Did she use a slur in those screenshots? Yes. Guess who else uses slurs? The gay community. They call each other F slurs all the time when they're talking about each other and bitching about each other. I'm sorry. So does the black community. So does any community that's a minority. I'm sorry. No,
the trans community,
excuse me,
Stardust, just to be clear.
Excuse me, I'm not finished. I am
Take
not
a
finished.
chill pill,
I am not
Stardust.
finished. You cannot.
Wait,
Bro,
let's have Stardust finish first.
You have to let me finish. You are wrong on the slur shit. Any community that is a minority community has a history of using slurs against them, appropriating them, and using them to shit on each other when they want to bitch about each other. I have seen it. I have seen it with the gay community. I've seen it with other communities of color. Okay. Secondly, what you're saying is not even analogous to what was going on in Brianna Wu's thing. If you wanted to make a better analogy, it would be a gay guy in a chat with a bunch of other gay guys getting mad at a gay guy who doesn't like him and calling him an F slur. That's what the equivalent would be. That doesn't make him all of a sudden unfit to be doing political advocacy just because he doesn't get along with one person.
What is a transvestite, Stardust? Because it's a little bit different in content than the
I said it's a slur. I said it is a slur.
It's not just a slur. It's not just a slur. What is a
Yes, what is the N-word, President Sunday?
No, I'm asking you. Like, what is the...
What is the N-word? It's more than just a slur.
Well, actually,
isn't it?
I was kind of asking a question. I was hoping you would engage with it. When somebody says the word transvestite, what is the image that comes to mind? What is being referred to by that word?
I think of Rocky Horror Picture Show.
So you think of a man in a dress, yes? You think of a man in drag. You think of somebody who is not, for example, a woman, who is dressed as a woman.
Yes. What do you think
so
the
if somebody,
N-word is?
So if somebody...
What do you think the N-word is? The N-word is
the
to dehumanize people.
The N-word is a mutilation of another word to make it seem gross and whatnot, that is then used
This is
to
all
slur
for
a category of
dehumanization.
people.
All slurs are for dehumanization.
I really would like for you to
They're for
attempt to
degrading
operate
people.
at like an adult level for a few minutes, if you wouldn't mind. I would appreciate it.
I don't know if you're capable of operating on the same wavelength as the rest of the panel here. Your IQ might be too low.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're calling someone transvestite presenting, what you're actually saying is, oh, see that trans woman there that I used to work with that was complaining of a history of tacit or quiet transphobia while working at the Young Turks. Yeah, she looks like a man in a dress. She needs to wear normal clothes because she's slim anyway. She can just dress normally, right? She doesn't need to dress in these women clothes. They don't work for her. That was what she was saying. That's egregious for somebody who's operating the space that she is, especially one who's touting coalition building. She's encouraging people in the background who are bigoted towards other trans people to be more and more encouraged in those views. She's actually sowing very strong dissent within the trans community, within the community she's supposedly trying to build coalitions with.
Wait, hold on.
She's encouraging the absolute worst elements.
So one of my moderators said Benny uses the word transvestite on their OnlyFans. Is that true? Can somebody confirm?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know that it would matter as to whether or not people find it right or wrong for Brianna Wu to use it. Like if Benny's wrong, Benny's wrong too. But that wouldn't change anything for the rest of them.
Yeah. Brianna
it'd be
has
sort of like just on the N-word thing.
She's admitted it was mean.
On the N-word thing, as an example, it would be sort of like if somebody called somebody else that, maybe somebody like Barack Obama did, and that other person had happened to use it in like a different key in
So-
like a piece of music they wrote, maybe in self-description even, right?
No, okay, so no, that's not what I'm talking about. President Sunday, what I'm talking about, first off, you got that
Yeah, that
wrong
is
with
actually.
Benny.
That's kind of exactly
No,
what you're saying.
that's not what I'm talking about. Let me finish, okay?
What
First
did I
off,
get
you
wrong
got
on
the thing
Benny?
with Benny wrong. You got the
Well,
thing
how?
with Benny wrong
What did I get
because
wrong with Benny?
because Brianna Wu was not talking about Benny as a whole. They were commenting on a specific picture of Benny.
Yeah,
And they were
a picture
critiquing
that
that one
this
picture.
person took, a picture that this person took to show like, hey, look how good I'm looking today. Da, 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 da. Brianna Wu
Yeah,
goes
but it
into her
wasn't
group chat with
fundamental
21
to
other
her.
people.
It
A lot
wasn't
of people with
fundamental to
audiences, by
her.
the way. What do you mean?
I mean, I would
what do you
say
mean it wasn't
the
fundamental to
picture
her?
was fairly representative of
Who's that?
Benny's
Who are you to say
general
that?
representation.
Who are you to
But
say that, Stardust?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't fundamental to her. It was a critique of the way that she looked.
Sorry,
And
I just
I'm
had to
not
kick
saying that
Sim.
that's right.
It wasn't just a
I'm not
critique
saying
of the
that
way
it's
that she
right,
looked. It
because
wasn't just a
even
critique of the
Brianna-
way that she
wait,
looked, Stardust.
Wait, even
She didn't just
even
say,
Bri-
"Ooh, that dress isn't working for you." She said,
No, she
"Yeah,
said
that
that-
trans woman, she looks like a man in that outfit. She needs to wear something else."
Yes, but it was
That's
still a
what she
critique
said.
of that outfit. It was still a critique of that outfit. I'm not saying that it's right, but I am saying that it is not about her fundamental character. It is about the way that
was.
she appeared in that photo.
Yeah,
now,
I don't
let
think
me
anybody
finish
was
what I'm
saying she was commenting on the
Let me
state of her
finish what I'm
soul.
saying. The second part of what I'm saying here is that, okay, first I said, right, that this is not a critique of her as a person fundamentally. It is a critique of the way that she was dressed, and it wasn't right. And Brianna Wu acknowledges that it wasn't right. Secondly,
So fuck off.
On
What are you going on
No.
about? She already
Secondly-
apologized. She acknowledged wrongdoing already. It's over.
Wait a minute. No. Secondly, yes, we all do mean things, behind closed doors. We all say mean things. But if you want to talk about like using slurs, I have friends who, I have a friend who. Wait. Let me finish. I have a friend.
Wait, let me
who
finish.
will call her brother. The N-word with a hard
Let me
R.
finish speaking, please. Wait.
Let's have Stardust actually finish, and then Sunday you can respond.
I think her point is that
When
it's not necessarily transphobic. It's just her commenting on her
Well, no,
look.
it's
Because
transphobic,
other
but
women
it is
comment on
strictly
her.
about that look.
So we agree.
I would
Maybe
say
we
it's
can-
not transphobic. I would say it's definitely not transphobic.
Okay, maybe we
It's
can
just
all look at the
like-
photo and make up our own minds.
I don't think
What do you think?
Or we could also look at the remainder of the messages, because that's a page that we're arguing about right now.
Okay, I just freed up
I just
everybody.
think this is the third one. This is the third time
So
that
to be
President
clear-
Sunday has tried to
So
blow
to
up
be clear,
somebody's career.
so to be clear,
This is the third time.
So to be clear, in your judgment, Stardust, that
Mhm.
person who wanted that conversation to be known because they wanted people to know what kinds of things Brianna Wu actually believed, contrary to her public-facing statements. That person
That
did a
person
grave.
has leaked a lot of stuff. That person is a drama chaser.
Really? Who are they?
Yeah.
Drama
I'm not
chaser.
going to name them. But
Drama
they've leaked
chaser.
many things.
But
before.
they're
Yeah.
not getting any drama from this.
Oh, they
I'm the
are.
one-
They're
I'm the one
seeing
who posted
all the
them.
drama unfold. They're seeing all the drama unfold. They wanted that.
No, I really don't think so.
Yes,
That's
I do
not the
think so.
impression
And
I
I
got.
think that you
No.
are a useful idiot. You're a
No,
useful idiot.
I think
I
what
cannot
happened.
believe how
I think
low
what happened.
IQ you are.
I think what
I
happened.
expected better of you. You have you present yourself as like a fucking professor aesthetic. I have no fucking idea. Do you have a fucking PhD? You have a bunch of books behind you. Have you read any of them? Clearly not.
I got a duck.
Holy
It's a
shit.
banana.
So, President Sunday, what do you think it is that should happen? I think that's like an important question to ask here.
I think all centrists should be swiftly and No.
Jesus.
What's supposed to happen? Nothing. What
He
should
doesn't
happen?
want people to look at Brianna as an ally. He wants them to know what her real feelings are about
Well,
these things.
I
and
want-
he
I
wants
want
them
people-
to understand where she really stands.
And isn't
Maybe
that
not-
fair at
maybe
the end
not
of the
so
day?
much. Maybe not so much to in that sense. Like if people still want to ally with her, so be it. But I think people should be aware of what her
Who they're
actions
allying
are.
with.
You would say, I'm saying
Well,
you
here's
would
why
say
it matters.
he's
Can
not
I
an
just very
ally.
quickly? Here's
For
why it
different
matters.
women, you tried to ruin their careers because they were smarter than you.
Destiny is a girl's
Oh.
name. True. So when it comes to Brianna in particular, Brianna is someone who's trying to mold policy, who's making strategic suggestions to people and saying you should do this, not do this. You should not advocate for this. Sometimes for
And her
entire categories of
advice
people.
is good.
I wasn't finished.
Yeah, are you sure you're not intimidated
Sometimes,
by her?
sometimes, like don't advocate for these whole identity groups.
Okay, energy drink.
Things like that. Sure. So when she's doing so, for that advice to be taken on good faith, you need to know what the goal is. What are her actual motives? And if it turns out behind the scenes that she has contempt for the groups that she's dropping, we can't trust that she's actually making this advice in their interest. It seems like she just doesn't care.
And again,
So,
what I will.
so
again,
that's why you need that consonance between what she says in private in these conversations with other people when she thinks you're not looking, and what she says.
But
in
you don't
public.
get to say who gets to appropriate the word or not.
President Sunday,
Well,
you have no idea. Like, look,
Just
you
ignore what Nine
in
Tails.
public will insult people for their intelligence, and then you're claiming the moral high ground here.
Yeah, 'cause you're
Seriously,
dumb.
like why? Why
'cause you're-
would you?
Because you're dumb.
Bro. You have tried to ruin
You're
multiple
silly.
people's. You've tried to ruin multiple people's
President
careers.
Sunday, I have a serious question for you.
President Sunday. Let me just reiterate one last thing, and then I will let everybody else have the floor because I just don't want to be involved in this anymore. Okay, President Sunday. Let me just tell you guys. Okay, President Sunday is only part of this because he used to be he used to be pro Gamergate back in the day, and he knows that it is still in. It's still in. It's still in to shit on Brianna Wu, and he knows that he can get clouded by shitting on Brianna Wu. He knows that he can do it. He knows that he can still get clout off of it today.
What are you talking about?
That is the reason why.
How do you even know that? I wasn't even on YouTube back then.
It's the reason why he went after
I think I was like,
everybody
I
else
might
that
have
he's
been in
gone
high school
after
still.
and tried to blow up their fucking career. There
It's
is
a weak
nothing-
accusation.
There is
Wait,
nothing
Stardust.
Okay,
President
but you know what?
won't
But you know what I didn't do?
He
Hey,
will
no,
not.
that's good. That's great. That's great. But you know what I didn't do? I didn't go canvassing for a segregationist like Wu did.
Okay, so
Oh,
the
okay,
the
wow.
Okay,
issue that
can I ask
I felt,
Sunday a question, please?
But also, by the way, very quickly, and I'll let you ask, please. If you're all right.
You're fucking retarded, President Sunday. President retarded.
Okay, you're not
You're a
contributing
Friday.
anymore. You're not
You're a
contributing
Friday.
anything.
You're a Friday.
I like Fridays.
Fridays are great.
Wait,
they're
Stardust. Do you wait? It's not
Fridays
like I
are
don't
fun.
doubt you or anything, right? But do you have any receipts for like him like?
Oh,
like
I mean,
any of them?
like back in college, I absolutely did watch Sargon, but I wasn't watching Sargon for Gamergate. That shit was
No,
boring.
like even
I watched-
even for right now,
You
like
were
even
a
for right
fan,
now
and
or
you
whatever.
know that it is in to shit on her because all of the ex
No, I didn't really pay attention.
all of
to
the GGers came
I
out of the
agree with
fucking
you,
woodworks
Stardust,
to
but you're
shit
not
on
I
her.
wasn't.
Is he
Wait,
still in
Stardust,
contact
what are you
with
talking about? I've been pretty
ex-figures?
No.
fair-minded here, have I not?
I'm not
Who?
talking about you, Tack. I'm talking about all
You're
the Twitter
chilling.
retards.
Wait, attacking. What the fuck? Stop. You're not okay. You're
So
okay,
very
cringe.
quickly.
You are not
From-
representative of all
From
of them.
about till 2016, I came from a conservative background and I watched a lot of Sargon because there's a lot of friction between, liberal lefty stuff in university campuses and people from that culture. And over time, I educated myself out of that. So in
Yes,
2016,
and you know
I was.
where the clout is. You knew the clout was in
What?
shitting on NSE, and you know the clout is shitting on Brianna Wu because all the GGers will come out of the woodwork. You care
That's
about
not clout.
nothing.
What are you talking about?
You don't care about
I was
any
streaming.
morals.
I was streaming a
President
Hegel
Sunday,
read through before
President
this.
Sunday does not
Like-
believe in any morals. He does not have any values. The only thing he values is clout.
What
That's
about
all I need to
Chanterelles?
say.
Stardust. It's not like I don't believe it, right? But like, if you would lower your decibels by like a few 20 or 30, like I
can't
I
when he's
promise-
always interrupting me.
promise I would.
He was always butting in.
You said you're going to leave it to other people. May I ask a question?
Yeah, sure, Nine, go.
Mr. Sunday, if anybody
Yes.
were to reappropriate hateful language, which group do you think is most, suited, entitled to do that? Would it be the group that language targets, and thus it would be empowering for them, or the group who uses that slur and has traditionally done so to weaponize it?
I don't think it's a reappropriation if it's a weaponizing of an ongoing term that has outdated connotations, because the purpose of it is to invalidate the person by way of their appearance, to say this person looks like a man, especially when you are acting in a professional or a public capacity and you're representing yourself as someone conscientious of that. And this is another crucial point, when you are castigating other people for doing things of an identical kind. So Brianna Wu has gone out of her
She
way.
castigates people for public things.
She does. Well, not just for public things. She castigates people for speaking to trans people in a dehumanizing way, period. And that there's no excuse for people in politics to do so. This is yet precisely what she's doing. Why?
Well, no,
because fundamentally she's a
this is
chameleon.
why
She's whoever she's talking to at the moment.
This is why Startup brought up the N-word, because the N-word was dehumanizing.
Yeah.
But Black people found a way to say it in a non-dehumanizing way.
Yeah, that wasn't
used
using it to dehumanize.
Wait, no, black people still use the N-word with the hard R to degrade each other. The fuck are you guys talking about? You clearly don't hang out with black people.
Thank you, Stardust.
I'm not saying they don't. I'm saying they reappropriated the language. And if anybody is suited,
people will still use that.
I gotta go soon. Does anybody else want to ask me something before I go?
I want to ask Mr. Sunday a question.
Jenny Matrix is in.
Okay.
Sunday, fuck you, you slimy piece.
Wait, is that all you have to say? It has
I
to be
was
more than
gonna
insult,
ask
right?
him an actual question.
Is that all I have to say? I've said like fucking 4 words.
Okay.
How about somebody who was already here? Because we
Yeah,
already know Jenny Matrix.
Now that the person whose DMs you leaked has shown up, suddenly you don't want to talk about it.
Hey, Jenny Matrix, do non-binary people exist?
Do non-binary people exist? Not in the sense that you would think they do.
What does it say on your Twitter?
You what?
Huh?
What does it say on your Twitter?
It says the non-binary. Okay, so in a tweet where I was cramming.
How about you just read it?
Yeah, sure. I'll read the whole
Okay.
tweet for you. It's point base.
You what?
Non-binary is not a real thing. Transgender is a meaningless category. Self-ID is a terrible idea. If you're not transsexual, you're not trans. Most trans activism is a complete joke, as you're proving right now. And the trans movement has been hijacked and subverted by gender abolitionists like yourself. You slimy scumbag. The way that people think non-binary people exist today is not how third gender or fourth gender people existed throughout history.
Food shops, I'm so sorry.
Made up by gender abolitionists.
But I do have to go, and there were people here who were waiting. I would like to answer a question from somebody who was already here.
My question is this. My question is this. Where were you inaugurated, and who can I call to verify that information?
I was not inaugurated in a country where the rule of law is in place. I rule by will. Ultimately, the presidential title is just a vestige of the previous regime.
Sunday, you understand?
Quite suspicious of
that when somebody has been
Sorry,
harassing
can you start that?
somebody
Can you start
else,
that conversation? Can you start the sentence again?
Somebody needs to check his creds.
I missed the opening of that sentence, Stardust.
Okay, so you understand that when somebody has been harassing a person for a long time, sometimes a bad thing is going to happen. Wait a minute. Sometimes a bad thing, excuse me, let me finish. Sometimes a bad thing is going to happen, and this person is maybe going to say something really bad about them in a private message that they don't expect is going to get out. It's not indicative of the entire community of trans people, but it is out of frustration.
If I was in a public beef with a black person, I wouldn't resort to using an anti-black slur. Not in public
but you're
either.
not black.
If I was, I wouldn't use an F slur to refer to a gay person either in that key. Like there's certain keys that you don't do these kinds of things in. And if for example,
minority communities do it all the time. Black people call each other the N-word with the hard R all the time.
If, for example, the function of it is not to say in an offhand way, hey, like she is another slur later on that is used in that key. That is a reappropriative. So when she refers to other people in the group as these are the good T slurs or whatever, like that's different. But when you're specifically,
do you even know that? Though? Do you know? Do you know that those words are not? Do you not know? Do you really know that those words are not used?
I'm assuming she's friends with the. I'm sorry.
Do you really know that those words are not used by that community?
I didn't say they weren't used by that community.
So then, what is your fucking point?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I was presuming I was speaking to somebody with a basic grasp of English. Maybe I was mistaken.
Oh, I thought I was speaking to somebody who actually knew how to put a sentence together.
Tom, do you have a question?
Yeah, so Sunday, it seemed like going through most of the logs that most of what Brianna Wu was talking about in them was neo-pronouns. It seemed like she had a bigger issue with neo-pronouns than with specifically non-binary people. I guess my mic or my camera just unplugged, but yeah.
Well, what are neo-pronouns for? What do they do?
So I think that this is indicative of her having an issue with gender abolition, not necessarily non-binary people.
Well, what do you suppose non-binary means?
Well, non-binary means that you don't fit into the binary, but I don't think that.
Here's the trick.
It depends on who you're asking, but
yeah, certainly. But if gender and sex are separate, then sex should not necessarily, therefore, limit the range of gender expressions that are possible. And so maybe you can be a gender abolitionist, for example, but still fit that mold, or even say everybody who lives only fits either a male or a female gender expression. Or it could be the case that we lack the vocabulary to describe people who have gender expressions that are outside of that categorization scheme. They can exist or they cannot. That's going to be a historical incident, right? There may be at some point in time born only people of like some subset of expressions, and some just will just not appear for whatever reason, so on and so forth. When you're talking about...
What? Stop.
Are you okay?
Yeah, sorry, my mic's messing up. Something dropped onto my stuff.
You better
and my
not do that
camera
again. What the
unplugged and
fuck?
everything.
It's
like a wasp.
really, I don't see him. It's hard to listen to a wet towel go on for as long as it has. It really is.
I feel so sorry for you. So when you're
Well,
talking
what
about, for
sounds-
example, when you're talking about ridiculing people with neopronouns or calling them insane, or wanting to take away the helm from them, because that's an express statement of going against that group's interests. What you're doing effectively is you're saying, yeah, people who have gender expressions outside of a binaristic thing, we don't have any respect for that, because ultimately it's what neopronouns are. They're ways to particularize gender expressions outside of the binary.
Is it though?
They, them is the way
I
to
don't
be
think that
ambiguous.
I don't think that these people actually.
Okay,
yeah, I
one
don't
more
believe
time.
that these people actually believe that you can exist outside of the gender binary. I think most
Of
people
course they
believe
do.
that you
No,
are
they do.
going
They
to.
believe that. They believe that very strongly.
But they're
Maybe
not trying to get rid
non-binary
of
people
gender
do, but I'm
it's
talking
really-
about
it's really
people
very
like
simple. If
Brianna
having-
Wu,
Wait.
like me. Most of us believe that they're going to
May I
be
go,
more
please, Switch
androgynous
Shops?
than anything else, but they still exist
let
within
Tom
the
go
gender
first.
binary.
Sorry.
Okay, but they don't. So when we're talking about the gender binary, what we're effectively saying, and the reason why we have a distinction between sex and gender, is that the range of ways in which you can express in a gender fashion in that way is limited by whether or not you have a penis or a vagina. And essentially, when we call people a man or a woman, that actually continues into that, where we're referring to people as penis bearers of the spirit, so to speak. But some people don't fall into that categorization. And that doesn't mean, therefore, that they're simply androgynous. Sometimes they have like very, very particular forms of expression. And that doesn't mean that the range is simply endless. Like it's distinctly possible that there are some that are more reasonable than others, or that start to lose meaning at a certain degree of they become sort of abstract or whatever, or something like that, to the point where maybe the language of gender is no longer appropriate, and maybe that's simply the case. But no, absolutely, there are people who really believe this. There's a lot of people with these identities, a good number. The reason why the reception to this has been so negative is precisely because there are so many people who understand this is actually not an unserious thing.
I don't think the reception has been
guys
all that
following
negative,
this
actually.
guy?
I think
Pretty
that
negative.
most people,
It's an
when we're talking
overwhelmingly
about
negative. Are you kidding?
gender, we're talking about like masculinity and femininity. And I think that most people, I think that pretty quickly, as soon as you start to take other identities that have literally nothing to do with masculinity and femininity and call them gender, you are immediately getting outside of what is reasonable.
Well, no, because
Oh,
masculinity
boy.
and femininity are themselves gendered categories, right?
Sunday,
Like
do
when
you
we're
think
talking
it's
about gender,
valid?
we're talking.
Do you think it's
Excuse me?
valid if somebody says their gender is a Pokemon?
If their gender is a Pokemon, well, Pokemon is a brand, so that's a little bit odd. But like, for example,
But they're
if
outside the gender binary.
sorry.
They're outside the gender binary.
Well, the identity wouldn't be
Do we-
literally
do we
saying
normally-
that they are the
Indigo
fictional.
specifically.
Let's
Wait, hold
assume
on.
that somebody did that. If they were being serious and they were using that to represent their gender identity, that would be a label for a particularization of their gender expression. That would not be trying to say I am literally the fictional character from this IP, right?
Do you understand the point though that like if we're making pronouns
No,
for
if I'm
every
honest.
single excuse me, let me finish.
Mhm.
If we are making and using pronouns for every single gender identity that is outside the binary, whether that's deer, whether that's Pokemon, whether that's fucking a star gender or cloud gender,
You will be
right?
relieved to
Oh,
know
wait,
that
let me
nobody.
finish. Let me
You'll be
finish.
relieved
Let
to
me
know.
finish.
Stardust,
You'll be
you've been cutting
relieved-
Let
people
me
off
finish.
like crazy.
Let me
Stardust.
finish.
Wait.
Like,
After this,
I
Nine
didn't
will
even finish
ask her
what
a
I was
question.
saying.
Yeah, but after you. I'm saying after you. Okay, go.
Okay. If you, can you understand that if we have to go and use neopronouns for every single person who says that they want to go by neo pronouns who identifies as something like star gender or cloud gender or Pokemon gender outside the gender binary, that we are going to have endless amounts of things to remember, and it's just not.
You have to remember people's
it is
names.
not-
What's the problem?
Yes, but remembering somebody's name and remembering like the pronouns of every single non-binary person outside of the gender binary who goes by Pokemon.
She just doesn't
cloud,
want to.
star,
How many are
static,
people actually? Hang
TV?
on. How many are people actually using? As far as I'm aware,
Well,
we have
they're
exactly
specifically
really
in that chat.
Stardust. How many people can you even?
Wait,
Stardust.
the people.
Stardust.
The reason why I'm bringing this
How
up
many
is
people
because
can you name?
specifically in that chat they were talking about dear gender. They were not talking about just
Doe's
any
not dear
non-binary.
gender. Doe
They
is
were
not
talking
dear
about
gender.
dear gender. They were
Doe is
talking
not
about
dear
Doe.
gender. Doe's not dear gender. Doe goes by
Okay,
it its
what-
pronouns because Doe is non-binary and operates outside of that spectrum. The dear
Mhm.
gender thing is a joke. Doe's not dear gendered. Doe
Okay,
was making a self-effacing joke because Doe uses a dear aesthetic in their art
Okay.
and whatnot.
Okay,
Yeah, I think that back
that
to
is not,
kind of
not
what
the
I was
point.
saying.
They were still.
But that kind
they
of
were still
is
referring
though.
to
So
that.
think
No, they
the
were referring
trans-
to that. If they believe
Come on.
that Doe is
I'm
dear gender,
trying to
then
like
Doe
go
is
down a
dear
line
gender in
of
their head.
questioning, and it keeps going off. Like I think the point is that people who actually have gender dysphoria are trying to fight to be seen as the genders that fit within the binary currently, and then there's people who are saying, well, actually, let's just kind of ignore the binary and come up with new genders that
No, we're
have
not
absolutely
saying to
nothing
ignore
to
the
do
No,
with
binary.
that's not.
gender.
They're not
Trans
saying that
women
at all.
still
They're not
trans
saying. No, hang on.
If I
Because
may
people.
present something.
Very
That's how
quickly.
it
They
comes
are, because
across,
as soon as
though.
you believe
This is
non-binary isn't even a possible
no. This
thing,
is an
that
important point that
We're
Tom's
talking
bringing up.
about needing people
Yeah,
to
yeah, just
conform
very
to gender
quickly.
roles.
So, sorry, I'm going to cut you off there, Ninetales. I couldn't tell who you were talking. So, Tom, very quickly, so you do bring up an important point. Nobody's advocating for disregarding people, for example, who have dysphoric feelings and identify with a sex other than their birth.
I understand that, but that's still
Yeah.
part of the process, though. Like that's part of the process of their
But-
acceptance
but-
is actually people understanding the difference between sex and gender and understanding
Yes.
that they do fit what it is that we understand gender to mean. But then there's other people who are saying, well, actually, no, let's like kind of wipe gender. We want to fit outside of what it is. that you're
Gender
calling
abolition.
gender.
No,
And
hang
we're
on.
coming up
Gender
with
abolition.
new identities that we just call gender, but have absolutely nothing to do with gender.
Tom, gender abolition is not abolishing people who are gendered. People are raised in a system that genders
I understand
them. People, so people develop to have these identities, and so on and so forth. Gender abolition is not saying that those people are invalid and that therefore that whole thing should just be ignored. Gender abolitionists are basically saying that these gender ranges should not be prescriptive for.
But those
who is-
identities fit on a
which
spectrum of
identities are able
masculinity
to
to
be recognized.
femininity.
What?
But those identities fit
Yeah,
on
nobody's
a spectrum
denying
of
that.
masculinity to femininity.
Well, not all.
They are,
don't.
if all
They
of a sudden
don't
these
all the time.
identities have
Not
literally
all
nothing to do
non-binary
with
people are like
masculinity
that.
and
One at a
femininity.
time,
They
one at
are
a time,
gonna.
you dorks. Okay.
But
Yeah, you may
why
as well
would you why would you limit it to femininity and masculinity, which is really just to say
We're not
vagininess and
limiting
penisness?
to that.
Hang
It's
on,
just
hang
what
on.
it is. If I say I'm a
wasn't finished.
football fan,
I
it's
wasn't
limited to
finished.
like the
You don't know my
football
question.
games that are available.
You don't know what I was going to say.
Calm your head down.
You jumped in because you're all excited because this is Stardust's shortcut to
Mod-
more than
mod
20
check.
viewers again. When you're saying that like people are tied within the spectrum of femininity and masculinity, what you're effectively saying is that the sexual characteristics with which people are born limits the range of types of people that they can be. But for example, there are asexual people who are trans, and so on and so forth. There's not this specific relationship between one's sexual equipment and one's gender expression. The gender abolitionist movement is effectively saying, regardless of your body type, that should not be a restriction, which, by the way, includes for people who have a body type that is torturous to them. That should not be restrictive of what kinds of gender expressions should be permissible. So it's not an abolition or an elimination of gendered people or existing genders. It's an abolition of the hegemony of gender as a sorting mechanism that is delimited by biological sex. Does that make sense?
I think that's perfectly acceptable within the binary, though. I don't like you're saying that as though it's
Well, it can
we're incapable
coexist
of
with
doing
the, it
that
can
within the
coexist with the
binary.
binary. It can
But these
coexist with
people
the
are
binary.
bringing new identities that have absolutely nothing to do with the binary.
Well, they aren't new
and
identities.
calling
They
them
have
gender
them. They're,
now.
they're present, right? They
No,
have
yes,
those
they have the
identities. Yes.
they have the identities, but they are not gender, and they are calling them gendered identities.
Well,
when they have
well, what is
literally nothing to do with gender.
hang on. What is gender, Tom?
Well, you guys are down
Masculinity
one
and
hell of a
femininity.
rabbit hole.
Well, no, those are genders. But what is gender?
Wait, hold on.
As a
Zonia
category.
Zonia wants to get
Gender is
her
the
2 cents
social
in.
product of biological
You also said I
sex
could
and human
go like a while
dimorphism.
back.
Oh yeah,
I'd
wait,
like
nine,
to
nine,
go.
nine wanted to go for a really long time.
I would actually like to talk to Zonia. This is unfortunate, but I do have to go. I was actually. Not
Oh,
supposed to be on
he's running, guys. He's running. It's
Running,
President
No, I just
Monday.
said straight.
Yeah, it's President
To be fair,
Monday.
Ginger,
got, like-
Sunday
we
did
do need
say
to talk
that she
Was it
needed
9:21?
to
I
go
can do.
for a
I can do
while.
5 minutes if you can go quick.
No, wait,
Okay,
Sunday
so
did
why do
say
you not
she
think
actually
people
needed
should
to go
have
for a
privacy?
while.
Sunday,
But I think
I wanna-
Ninetales is waiting. though.
Okay, I want to get something real quick
But
from Sunday.
I think
Do
Ninetales
you-
is waiting.
Yeah, I know, I know, but you got 5 minutes. Okay, let's do Ninetales.
You
If
can do
that's
1 minute there quickly.
Who was talking?
My question isn't for Sunday, so Zonia go first. Actually.
Oh,
okay.
there we go.
Thank you. Okay, so do you recognize that there is a difference between what someone feels is optimal to and effective to currently advocate for versus say like working against non-binary identities?
If you're saying to people that you don't regard specific subsections at the very least of non-binary people as valid, or if you're calling them insane and agreeing with that, or if you're, for example, ridiculing somebody for their non-binary identity, someone in particular, unprovokedly, and if in addition to this you are complaining to that group of people that you're addressing that these people are corrupting the purity of your movement, and then you're going afterwards to the public and saying, no, I unequivocally defend these people, I think that's deeply disingenuous, and I think that's a deep betrayal, probably the most damning kind of betrayal you can make as a political figure, is to be secretly working against the interests or speaking against the interests of the people you're supposedly representing, and then lying to them afterwards and saying that, no, I'm actually 100% on your side.
Well, if their public advocacy seems to be working in the favor of, then that's pretty good, right? I mean, politicians are two-faced all the time, right?
I don't think her. Well, no, that's not an excuse, Zanya. By that logic, you would have voted for Nixon after Watergate. When your public representatives are lying about their purposes and their goals, their statements afterwards that, by my highfalutin coalition, I wasn't finished speaking.
Let him finish. Let him finish because he doesn't have much time.
By my highfalutin coalition building among goddamn Twitch poll streamers, we're going to somehow bring about the revolution, and you all be saved along with us anyways. If leaving aside the fact that, no, unfortunately, her somehow involving herself in the canvassing efforts of Vosh and Destiny, that's not going to secure anything for anybody. Let's assume that it did. If she is making prescriptions that on a surface level, more than a surface level actually, but on a surface level appear to be against the interest of a subset of that group, but she claims they're in the interest of that group because if the whole succeeds, they will succeed with it. If she's secretly telling people she doesn't give a shit about that group, that's a problem, because it means that group is being misled by somebody who is claiming to speak for them, who is actually operating against their own interests or doesn't care about them. So they are lying when they say this will be good for you. They just don't give a shit about those people.
Well, so there's a very lengthy history of us shit talking each other behind the scenes constantly. It happens.
That's not an excuse.
Doesn't matter how pure of a
It's not
leftist
an
you are,
excuse.
it always happens. But if your public advocacy is working in the benefit of the LGBTQ community, then I think that's a pretty damn good thing.
I think
and
you
if,
would have to be monumentally naive.
if you're
At this point.
I don't think so. And if you just don't if you're not ready to, fully adopt on all of sort of the new, more modern, open-minded sort of policies,
Then don't lie.
Then
Don't lie to the people you're representing.
then it's fine to not want to have to take that on right now and to be a little bit more pragmatic.
But
The
she's
lying,
not.
look,
She's lying.
I look.
Well,
I haven't gone through.
You don't deny that she's lying.
I haven't gone through all of your stuff, but
There's
I do
3
know.
pages. It's not that much.
But I do know that there is always this is what I'm advocating for, and then there's sometimes I don't always agree with the people that are in this particular subset or something, right?
Well, it's a problem because one of the people she doesn't agree with is called Brianna Wu on Twitter. So if she's saying I unequivocally support non-binary people, and then she's equivocating on supporting non-binary people or outright
We're talking
complaining about their
specifically
influence.
about
Then
Doe in that situation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
They were
when she was talking
under the
about.
impression that
hold
Doe
on,
was
so-
dear gender.
So, well,
And
here's the
neo
thing.
pronouns.
Here's the thing.
Sunday,
So,
do you just think it's
so
not okay to
is
question
it
beliefs in private among people who you can have those conversations
well
with?
also
I
also
do
about
have
individuals?
to run, unfortunately. Food
also
shops.
about
We can.
I know you have to
We'll
run,
continue this
buddy.
later, Zonya.
All
I
right.
can.
Yes, yeah.
But I do need to leave. My partner just came home, so.
Yeah, I do.
Alright.
Sunday,
Have a
I
good
do
night.
wanna talk
Don't have a
one-on-one with
good night.
you about. Okay.
I will.
Stop.
Just
I
because
do
you
wanna
said
hold
that.
on. I do want to talk one-on-one with you about transmedicalism sometime. But yes, I'll say goodnight to you right for now, and thank you so much for coming on. And yeah, for now, good night. Thank you so much.
Have
for
a good
coming on.
night.
Have a good
night.
night.
President Run Day.
Farewell.
How does it feel to be like a large monotone man with the personality of a rock?
He's still
Like-
here.
So anyways, I have a productive
So
question
he's-
Oh,
Tom.
he is? Oh, I don't care. I don't give a fuck.
Where can we
what were
validate
you
your
gonna? What were
Pretty
you
credentials?
Stardust.
good night.
All right.
What were you saying?
So
I'm
my
not just
question
a
for Tom
monotone
is.
voice, also slow wit. Large man, slow wit, personality of a rock.
Yeah, we get it.
And a
We
monotone
get it. You're
voice.
mad.
Okay.
Yeah, we get it.
I think
I mean, I
that
think like
he
to
approached
me
the
the
like.
biggest
Mr.
argument should have
Foolery.
been the stuff about the
Mr.
neo-pronoun stuff
Foolery.
because he made it sound like arguing that she's criticizing
Thanks for
neo-pronouns
chops.
throughout almost all of it, and then he says, "Well, you're criticizing neo-pronouns, therefore you're not a non-binary ally," and I don't think that actually makes
Yeah,
sense.
that's
You
not
can
true.
criticize
Well,
neo-pronouns and still be on board with
and the other
non-binary.
They were
and the other problem is
Mr.
that
Foolery.
the
I
other
have a
One
question.
at a
Don't
time.
you
One
represent
at
those
a
beliefs
time.
properly?
Jesus
This is like-
Christ.
I
the other
reclaim my
problem-
time.
Like, she was
I
critical.
reclaim my
What the
time.
She's
There-
very
What
pro-non-binary
the
in
fuck
that
is
chat.
the 3D avatar? What the fuck? Jesus Christ. Okay, whatever.
look,
Hello.
I really
Sonia,
want to
the
get
whole
something out of the
letting
way.
me speak thing fell apart fast.
Yeah, hold on.
I know you do, but
I just want to qualify
I've
something
been
real
waiting
quick.
longer than you have at this point.
All right, sure. Sorry.
Thank you. Go ahead, So, Mr. Foolery, what do you have any objections to the claim that the gender abolition movement is more about getting rid of the need for people to conform to gender roles than about getting rid of gender altogether? Like, nobody's claiming that trans women need to not exist and we need to abolish gender that way. But you can recognize that, right?
I agree that that is what is stated. Yes.
But you think that you have better knowledge on how it works?
Yeah, I think that as long as the patterns exist, as long as males act more like males and females act more like females, and they have separate interests and separate body language and different things that they do, they are going to have patterns that the rest of us recognize. And as soon as we recognize those patterns, we're going to categorize them as separate things, and we just call that gender.
So this is anti-non-binary because we also see that there are some people who don't have masculine or feminine traits at the end of the day.
I don't agree with that. I do not think that that's true. I've never
Let
seen
me-
a person who did not
That's
have
your
gender
subjective
characteristics.
experience. That's your subjective
It's not.
experience.
I
But you're
have
somebody who's
never-
comfortable.
I've never
Go ahead.
seen a person who did not have gendered characteristics ever in my entire life. And I've had a lot of people say that they are agender. I've seen people say that they are non-binary. They might have a more mixed bag of gendered characteristics where they come off as more androgynous. And that makes sense if that's what we want to talk about when we're talking about non-binary people. But those people are not absent of any gendered characteristics.
They're talking about having a gender absent experience as a person.
As like an identity, you mean?
Both.
Well, sure.
As like
but
an
the-
internal experience or as like an intentional identity?
I guess mostly as an internal experience, but also feeling most validated when gender isn't a part of what they're doing.
Well, gender can be very confining. So, yeah, a lot of people want to try to define themselves in a way that allows them to not be as confined by society's gendered
The
rules.
key point is that unless you have any data that it's impossible for people to feel non-binary, you are confining them to
Wait,
this
that's not
thing
what
where
I'm
no matter
saying.
what they do,
That's
what
not
they
what I
say
said.
about themselves has no meaning.
I believe in non-binary people. I just believe that they're androgynous. I believe that they have a more mixed bag
So
of gender
you're,
characteristics.
both
feminine non-binary
So,
people as well
as I understand
non-binary
this,
people.
tomfoolery, as I
Being
understand this means you're saying that you think that agender people don't exist, but
I do not believe in agender. I think that's literally impossible.
I would like to do one little quick qualification. I don't know how much strongly people feel about this, but like people often like to tie neopronouns to like the trans community, but neopronouns are something that predate really even how modern understanding of transgender people, and there are plenty of cis people who use pronouns beyond the basic she, they, them. So it's something to keep in mind, that it's just because someone's using neopronouns doesn't necessarily mean that they're trans.
Well, maybe we just need to address those next.
I think there's an issue where people often talk about neopronouns without understanding how they are used in practice. Many people will think that neopronoun users are absolutely insistent and get extremely angry at all times of which their preferred pronoun is not used, whereas a lot of the times they may have a hierarchy of pronouns, and a pronoun such as fey, fair might be their favorite pronoun, but it's kind of almost honorific when it's used. That's
Yeah,
a
a
thing
lot
that
of
I think people miss.
Yeah,
a
a lot of
experience I've had too, by the way.
Yeah, a lot of times when we talk about non-binary people, oftentimes you're going to find that there's not really necessarily one set of pronouns that they use specifically, but it's more multiple sets of pronouns that they use, and a lot of times it's just one that they like above all the rest. And
the problem is worse than I thought.
I agree. I think that we have trouble though. Like my issue a lot of times, and this is not, I don't think this is actually representative of the non-binary community nor the trans community, but it is fairly common with online trans people, where they will have a gender identity that does not seem to drive their gender expression. And what it is that we would expect to see based on your identity is not actually seen by other people. And there's this cognitive dissonance between what you're telling us your identity is versus what we actually see in front of us. And we would expect normally the identity to align with the expression. And I think that lots of times these are, I understand that they're like, when the reason I bring up gender abolition is because I do think that these are like intentionally done a lot of times to try to break down gendered barriers, to try to like give people more room to express themselves. But I think we start to lose meaning in what it is that we're talking about when we use words to kind of categorize these things in the first place.
I think that somebody who says their gender is mudkip is saying something that is meaningful but requires more context. Somebody might just see them as being a girl with blue hair who and short hair and think, oh, this person's feminine or this person's androgynous. But they are trying to express something about their identity, and I don't really perceive it as being a problem that they are expressing this part of their identity, as it's usually done within trans spaces. People very rarely try to enforce this kind of discussion outside of trans spaces, and I very frequently
The problem is that it undermines the entire concept of gender. You're saying that these things are nothing but a matter of self-identity. They're self-referential categories.
Precisely.
A man is anyone who identifies as a man. A woman is anyone who identifies as a woman. So
How are you
therefore,
going to
it's a worthless
justify
category.
healthcare?
Doesn't mean
How are you going to
anything.
justify
That's a hold on. That's a
Shut the fuck up.
All right,
These
one
people wanna
time,
do
one
this
time.
in the name of transsexual people. They want to use us, people who medically transition, who have gender dysphoria, to push this ideology that we all now have to conform to, or you get your private group chat DMs leaked.
Well, like the big problem that I see, like, because to like build off of both of your points, Stardust and Jenny, is that so like Stardust, you're saying like getting healthcare, like it's a big priority, it's a big thing. There's like actionable things, and these are some things that through science we can actually win arguments on and win politicians on to get them to actually provide support for transition and for HRT and such, right? But then in addition to that, what like Jenny is talking about, the problem that we're having, and this is something I wanted to push back on President Sunday about, but there actually is a very concerted effort to say that if you're a binary trans person, you're a trans medicalist. And if you're currently focused on advocating for the medical needs of binary trans people, because it's a very valid fight and it's a desperate thing right now that we're actually losing in some battleground states, you suddenly are labeled as a trans medicalist, and then you're maligned as being Nazi adjacent and shit.
There is no such effort like that whatsoever. Binary trans people are completely accepted within the trans community. And as far as healthcare goes, similarly...
Beg to differ. We've actually seen evidence to the contrary quite aggressively right now in at least online trans spaces, which is where all this stuff is blowing up, which is what triggered this whole panel in the first place.
So,
I've never seen that in any online trans spaces at all.
Yeah, if you don't look for it, you probably won't see it because it's easier to blind yourself to things like
You
that.
sound like you're deeply entrenched in a community that nobody else can relate to.
Yeah, I want to bring this back though to what Jenny was saying because
this is the whole point that was built on by actual Jake. This is what was being built on by President Sunday as well. So what I don't know what you're talking about.
But this is very different from like what Jenny and I were talking about is that like when I agree that you can have all sorts of identities and you can identify as a cat or whatever, like Kip or whatever.
Agree with that.
Like there's tons of identities that you can have. I identify as a Falcons fan, and that's freaking insane, right? But that doesn't mean that I call Falcons fan being a gender, and that's the different thing, right? It's like identify as whatever you want, have these identities, but when you start calling these identities gender, that's where it starts to kind of muddy the waters.
I just think I'm hearing a lot of empty and frankly nonsensical arguments here. Like when we talk of gender affirming care, we talk of treating gender dysphoria, which can be a thing which trans men, trans women, as well as non-binary people can have. And when we talk about affirmation of identity, we don't really enter the space of medical healthcare. Those are two very different subjects, and affirming an identity of a person does not block the way for a person with gender dysphoria to get medical health care. That is nonsensical.
Yeah, I would agree with that position. So why are you saying that that the arguments are nonsensical? Where does that statement conflict with what's being stated by everyone right now?
Because what is being stated is that affirming non-binary identity or even xenogender identities will somehow block the access to that healthcare, and I just don't see it.
If your goal is to try, it depends on what you're trying to do. In the case of Brianna Wu, which is sort of like the basis for this whole thing, if you're going to politicians lobbying and you're saying, hey, we need to fight for, right now we're trying to fight for the medical coverage for trans people to be able to go through gender affirming care. She's talking about the gender affirming care. She's talking about the medical transition, the HRT. She's talking about things like that she's trying to fight for. She's not going to a politician and saying, by the way, we need you guys also to write legislation so that you have to recognize neopronouns. That's not what she's doing, right?
I mean, it's fine that she's not doing it. I mean, different people advocate for different laws. These are two very different legal things, and for the most part, the healthcare that non-binary people and binary trans people need is relatively similar.
Yeah, so it seems like there's not really an issue. So what's the conflict
there
then?
is an issue. The conflict is that Brianna Wu, by her private discourse that has been leaked, is indicating that she is more than willing to cut off non-binary people as not really trans people.
Can you demonstrate that for me in her political advocacy?
her immediate political advocacy does not even have to be relevant. What is
Oh,
relevant
cool.
that
So she
is-
says some things that are kind of disagreeable behind the scenes, but her political advocacy is in support of. So that's great.
what she has
Perfect.
what no, it's not great. It's the opposite of great.
So since she's impure in private, at least she's doing the right thing in public. Awesome.
For now.
The issue
Sounds
is not
great.
that she's
I mean,
doing
it
the right
sounds like
thing
you
in
should be
public,
praising
it's
it.
just private.
It
The issue
seems.
is that
Hold on.
she's
It seems
shown-
like you should be praising that because, like, holy shit, she could be advocating against us, but she's not. She's actually doing something that is supportive of the broader trans community. That's awesome.
Well, no.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's great. That's awesome. You're
But wait, it needs to
basically
be
saying
noted.
basically saying that because she says it in private that she should somehow be condemned for all the pro-trans stuff that she's done in public that has not been anti-binary or against binary people. That's insane. That's like mental illness that you're advocating for there. That makes no sense whatsoever. You're talking about trying to sacrifice somebody who's actually fought for us broadly without singling out people based on their gender identity. You're actually wanting to sacrifice that because she has some personal disagreements with certain subsets in private. What is this madness? This is absolute
what I'm
madness.
hearing
This is
is
self-destructive to our advocacy. This is like, you know what? I don't think we should succeed in fighting for our own advocacy. I think we should self-destruct because our advocates, even though they're doing the right thing, in private, they're just not pure enough and perfect enough for me.
So I guess
The
what
issue
I'm
is not
hearing
that
is
Brianna Wu isn't a
basically,
perfect advocate. We're not asking for perfect advocates. We're
That's
asking for
what
advocates who
Lucy is
stand
asking.
by-
No, that is exactly what Lucy is asking for
That
right
is
now.
not what Lucy
That
is
is
asking
exactly
for.
what Lucy
No,
is
that is
asking
not
for
what-
right now. That is exactly what she's asking for. She's saying in private, her views are slightly different and disagreeable.
Not just
but
slightly
but she
different.
cannot point to her public advocacy and her political advocacy in being in line with those disagreements. So she's literally saying that she's not pure enough in private to be an advocate, and so we should sacrifice her. That is what she's saying.
Why should people not be allowed to discuss these things in private in a slightly disagreeable way?
Daedalus, you have
and
been
explore
following
these.
this media.
Talk through these ideas.
Yeah, and why
and
does
can
why
we
does this
also-
one
can
thing
we also
matter
point
so
out-
much more? No, one sec. Why does this one thing that she did matter so much more than the good work she's actually done?
Right?
I think
And
that you guys
also
are
we need
ignoring
to
something
point
though,
out-
just real
we need-
quick, because
Like, if you think about her
I
as
feel like
a-
this
as
is a little
a
bit
total
unfair
sap.
because she is like the way that you talk about other people, it does affect other people socially, right? Like actually advocating for non-binary people, making them feel welcome in spaces, talking about how they should be normalized more so. That is still political advocacy. That still does make changes to our social norms. You can't act like people having, very like slurring, non-binary people consistently isn't going to hurt them in any way, right?
Yeah,
That
but
is
it's a very
still some sense
specific
of advocacy.
There's a very specific
this is
group
for-
chat that had a very specific group of people, most of which agree entirely with that whole thing.
And they
so
were all referring to somebody, to Doe, essentially, who was like.
I was the one who started
Yeah.
that.
No, we
Yeah, they were all
Naomi?
referring to a very specific type, right? Somebody who they thought or were under the impression that was like dear gender, right?
Naomi,
So-
you are. I want to confirm with you that Brianna Wu has publicly stated an intent to remove non-binary people from the movement to try to be more clear about goals. Essentially,
No, she said she wanted to take the movement back. She said that she wanted. Yes.
Since then also stated an apology.
True. So yeah, what Ninetails is saying, but she said initially she said that I want to take the movement back from this wing of the trans community, but as Ninetails stated, she did give an
they were
apology
talking
on
about
that.
neo-pronouns, I thought, as well. Again.
Yeah, I don't think it was non-binary. I think it was neo-pronouns, which again,
It was neo-pronouns.
Yeah, we
Which
need
is
to
the movement
differentiate.
of non-binary people.
Is the
No.
movement taken over
This is
by
this.
neo-pronouns?
This is the thing. Now, non-binary people are definitely, by and large, the biggest users of neo-pronouns. but it is some shit to say that neopronouns are tied strictly to gender identity. That's some bullshit. So neopronouns have existed for a very long time. There are neopronouns like Caesar that go back hundreds of years, like a
And it
couple
seems
hundred
like
years.
the majority of
And-
non-binary
and-
people don't use neopronouns as well. So it's
and they're-
just talking about neopronouns, not the majority of non-binary people.
I'm
Yeah,
a
but
binary.
despite that,
I'm a binary trans person. I use any all. I go by she, her, but I don't give a shit. So they're used all across the board. I know cis people using neopronouns, and it doesn't matter. It's don't try to say that it's strictly a gender thing. That's just ridiculous.
And what she didn't say is that they aren't a part of the LGBTQ IQ2S movement, right? She very much includes non-binaries in that and always has.
Yeah.
I don't think the existence of that makes me think, like, I don't think the pre-existence of neopronouns existing in some form of society makes me change my like position on that. It's like you're telling me the history of something, but I also don't see how that validates the use of them today. Like we're currently in a pretty like different time where neopronouns are actually
Her point is
emerged.
that they don't attach to non-binary people. Not that they're more valid.
It doesn't
but that they
mean.
don't
It doesn't mean.
necessarily attach to
It doesn't.
non-binary.
Yeah. It doesn't mean that you strictly get to own the neopronouns. That's fucked up and stupid and retarded. I'm sorry. Just plain stupid. The neopronouns are used by cis people. They're used by binary people, and they're used by non-binary people. I'm a binary person who uses neopronouns. There are plenty of cis people who use neopronouns. I call total fucking bullshit on this whole thing that you're going to try and say, oh, well, if you're not in support of fighting for neopronouns, then you're clearly not in support of non-binary people. That's some
Can you
bullshit.
provide me of an example of a cis person that uses neopronouns?
Yeah, we were just looking at them the other day. We were exploring a bunch of different people who were using them. Who,
Like someone we could Google, possibly?
Who's the person we were pulling up, and she was she it, and she was cisgender. Was it actual Jake's partner? I think it's actual Jake's partner.
I have no idea. I wasn't.
Actual Jake's partner is she it. She is
And
cis.
this is a cis person?
Why should this? Why should this?
Doesn't this further trivialize this is a stronger argument for people who think it's trivial.
Binary transsexual person with dysphoria who's medically transitioning. Why should this exist under one label?
Because having neopronouns and having non-binary people exist is not mutually exclusive with having medical care for trans people.
Okay. Maybe you don't speak English as a first language or something. Those two things existing aren't mutually exclusive. Why should they exist under one label?
How are they mutually exclusive?
I said they aren't. I said
they aren't mutually exclusive. The point is that it's not just a non-binary.
Then why act like non-binary people are harming the trans community? If you can have
Again, we're
legislation
talking
that
about
is pro-trans,
neopronouns harming the trans community, not non-binary people. Right now.
you can have neopronouns and medical care for trans people and in legislation.
I don't think anybody is
all have
disagreeing
to be
with that.
considered the same thing? Why is it all under this umbrella of transgender? Why?
Yeah, there are people who need medical care and there are people who do not need medical care. Does it not make sense to at least split those two categories?
That's not even what we're talking about. We're just saying that people who use neopronouns aren't necessarily excluded from getting
No, I know.
any
I'm
sort of
going
medical
to
care. We're
Jenny's
just saying
point
that
that
neopronouns
everybody.
aren't.
Why do we have everybody under one label when
Right,
there
but
are different
that's the
needs for
point.
these
Is that
different labels?
neopronouns don't actually have much to do with gender, and so calling it a non-binary thing doesn't actually make sense because neopronouns aren't necessarily gender exclusive.
All right, hold on one second.
Yes.
I can't paste in the side chat, so I posted in the group chat. Cis person, this is actual Jake's partner. She, it are her pronouns.
Is it a neopronoun now?
I
feel like that trivializes it way more than what we were currently discussing. I don't think that's a stronger argument against it. But
No, I think it's a very strong argument to say that neopronouns are not like solely owned by non-binary people, and therefore, if you don't support them, you don't support non-binary people.
Would you agree that there's a strong association with non-binary people?
I said that already. already qualified that it is probably more often used by non-binary people.
Okay, but when there's conversation about gender, we're not thinking about like
but
past
you have
history.
a
We're talking
binary
about
person,
the people involved.
but you have a binary person right here talking to you right now that uses them, and you have cis people that use them. So I'm sorry, I call bullshit on this whole thing that if you don't
Okay, so
support
the fact that they're cis and like
Okay,
utilizing
so
neo-pronouns
I
in a way
have
that
a
it's equally as
question.
trivial if they're using it if
I
they're
mean, dude
trans
could be a
doesn't make
I
it
have
a
a
stronger
question I
argument
want
to me.
to
It makes it a lot weirder.
it pushes
It makes it a lot weirder.
it pushes back against the bullshit call that is tied mostly strictly to non-binary people, and
Well,
therefore
it doesn't
not
matter
supporting
either
one doesn't
way.
support the other.
I have a
It doesn't
question
matter
for
either way because
everybody
the
in this
majority
chat.
That's like
real quick,
weird
real
I
quick
own
to tie a
everything
bow on
present
it.
special
one at a
bullshit.
time. Let's keep it
I have
civil.
a
Thank you.
question for
Just
everybody
real
in
quick,
this chat.
just real quick, let me just like close that out. The majority of non-binary people are not using neo-pronouns. So even when they're talking about excluding people with neo-pronouns, they are not talking about all non-binary people. Like President Sunday's trying to make it sound like it's a blanket statement for non-binary people, and it's just it would still be a
that's
minority
bullshit.
of them.
Yeah.
I have a question for everybody in this chat. Do you think that a movement with more people in it is going to be able to provide more support for the people and more advocacy as a single unified group?
Can I answer first?
Coalition.
That already is the LGBTQ umbrella. We already have that with the LGBTQ umbrella. I don't understand why we can't split up people with different needs.
Well,
I'm gonna further on that. I'm gonna further on that. I think a group with conflicting views, you might even say like contradicting views, should definitely take a look at the way it's like leading itself. So if there's like the idea that they should be like separate, which I believe, I don't think that non-binary people I don't think we share the same experience. And I think that's like, and I think that a lot of people feel the same way. And if you were going to throw us all under one umbrella, then you can't act naive and think like we're all going to just jump on neo-pronouns because it's just like the priorities are fucked.
Well, there's the problem.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and close this bad boy down. It's getting late, and I'm just gonna relax. Go on a little bit of a vacation starting tomorrow, so yeah, it went dark and silent. Yeah, I almost forgot I was streaming for a second there, so I was about ready to walk away, and I'm like, oh wait, I'm still live. Yeah, okay, I'll go ahead and raid. We'll do DJ Potato on Twitch. I was gonna raid Stardust on Twitch, but apparently she's not even streaming on Twitch right now, which is weird given that she's on the panel. Oh, I guess it's a trans issue panel. You can't talk about trans stuff on Twitch. It's not allowed. Unless you have one very specific opinion. Oh, no, maybe I should have streamed it on Twitch. I didn't really say anything bad, though, so it's probably fine. And then I guess on YouTube, it might just be you, Saba. But we'll raid Food Shop since she had us on the panel. And I appreciate that. That was good. I think I was pretty fair in how I approached it. I mean, look, the whole situation. Probably shouldn't have rated on Twitch yet, but the whole situation. I don't really know enough of the specific context to say whether or not this specific thing that Brianna Wu did was a lie, or if it was just, or what. Like, I don't really care that much. I think that if you're a public figure and you have a private position and a public position, and people leak that, I think that leaking that's probably fine. And if it was leaked from Wick's Discord server, like, it's not even a DM getting leaked. Like, DMs getting leaked, okay, I can understand really being pissed there. But this is literally just leaking something from a Discord server. Like, I don't know if that's really that big of, or well, part of it was from a Discord server at least. Doesn't seem like that big of a deal. But, you know, if people want to not associate with her because of this, that's probably fine. That's their choice, of course. And but this whole like seeming attempt to try and cancel people, I'm not really on board with that at all. Anyway, let's go ahead and raid.